This is the Original Copy Podcast. If this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe and give us a like. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers, so it would really help us out. What's going on?
Not much. Just wanted to give a shout out to this water brand that had no reason to become famous, but it did from that YouTube trend. It's the blue water bottle, the Saratoga sparkling water bottle.
Saratoga?
Nobody ever heard of this until some dude made a video about it, and I figured I'd contribute, buy a couple bottles, and it's $3 a bottle.
Really?
For sparkling water, and y'all don't know what we're talking about. There's a YouTube Shorts trend. I'm not sure if it came from TikTok, but YouTube Shorts trend where this guy's dunking his face in a bowl of water full of $3 water bottles with ice in it as a morning routine. I'm not sure if it was a joke that he just kept doing until it caught on, but everybody hopped on that train, so feel free to give it a try. It probably tastes like Saratoga water, whatever that is. Isn't Saratoga in Florida?
I don't know. Sounds familiar. It says this is born in the foothills of the Adirondacks.
I don't know where that
Wherever
is.
that is, yeah.
Sounds like a body part.
Let's give it a try. It's water.
It's definitely water. Good thing. That would be crazy if it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
not top choice, I'd say that.
yeah, I definitely wouldn't spend $3 on that. I'd drink tap.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's been an interesting week yet again. Obviously, we just had April Fools.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Ago. Saw a lot of interesting things. It just gets more ridiculous every year because it's almost like the younger generation, the kids who are like under 14, who kind of forget that it's April 1st and it's more fun for the adults to do stuff. But then you have these grown people on X that are like 35 and they're trying to make a cheesy April Fool's Day post like,
dude, everybody had to make one.
I'm quitting YouTube. And everyone is like, oh, is it April 1st? Like everyone just immediately goes to that. No one's just like, what? Like it used to be the ultimate like punk.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, like no way. And now it's just like the cheesiest
That being
things
said,
ever.
there were a lot of cheesy ones. But that being said, I fell for a couple.
Yeah, there was a couple.
I just had to stop looking at my phone because I was like, nothing good is going to be on here today.
Yeah, there was a couple when I mean, for me, it was almost like, oh, no way. Oh, it's April 1st. Like it was like immediate in my head of like, oh yeah, it's April 1st. So I think the older we get, it's just the cheesier it is and stuff.
I don't know. I just think it's more that everybody's sort of chasing it as like it used to be a joke. It used to be, this is funny. And not every company would do it. Now every company does it because they have to do it. They have to post it on X. They have to be clever.
Yeah.
And that's not fun.
It reminds me, my dad used to tell me, do you know what like a jackalope is?
Sort of like a little rabbit thing.
Yeah, it's like a little rabbit with antlers and stuff. And he always used to tell me, like, we were going to my my aunt and uncle's house, and they have a ranch. So we were like gonna go there when I was little, and he'd be like, hey, we're gonna go shoot jackalopes because they have big property, guns, everything. And I'd be like, okay, like it's intimidating as a little kid. You're like, I'm gonna go shoot something. And then each night I'd be like, hey, can we go? And they're like, oh no, man, like it's too late. Or like, we'll have to go earlier tomorrow. And it was just a thing that we always talked about. And then we'd go outside and they'd be like, there was one right there. It was right there. And then like, nothing ever came from it. Then one year it was eventually told to me that they were a fictitious creature.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things I think you just grow out of, but it's fun because when you start having your own kids and your own family, you start to realize, oh, I have someone who I can use that on now. Yeah. Unless you're like a elementary school teacher or whatever. Like, I guess it just is a cyclical thing every year to do.
Dude, it's like some of those are reserved for like everybody knows those. But I wouldn't unleash one of those on somebody unless they like were really just like asking for that specifically. Not like not with words, right? But just like, I don't know. They just, sometimes people can back you in a corner and you know what? I got a good story. And like the punchline is kind of like, just fuck you, right?
Yeah.
But
it'd be really interesting if like, this is like big brain. If like a different, let's say it was the Chinese and the Chinese wanted to like use tactical nukes against the United States. Right? Like That was the wrong button. Imagine if the Chinese were like, we're going to throw nukes, but we're going to send them on April Fool's Day. And they actually sent them. And then all of X is like, we're getting nuked. And everyone was like, yeah, April Fools. Like, no one actually believes it. Oh, that'd be crazy.
That'd be tough.
Because imagine everyone's just like, we don't believe the White House. Like, no, they're not. Like, everyone's just thinks it's a giant prank. Like, that would be awkward as crap.
People don't know anything that's going on. Like, we can't take anything serious.
No, like everything. I mean, everything we are seeing, like, just happening. It's almost like you just have to, subconsciously be like, is this real? Is this happening? Is this just a ploy to divert my attention, or is this actually real? Like,
well, because it's like even if the government was saying it, we're like, but are you sure? Like, is this the April Fools? Yeah, after like 9/11 and stuff, it's like, yeah, there could be like this thing going on, but like, I'm just trying to chill, you know?
Yeah. So that whole there's big news that came out about Luigi Mangione, like the Justice Department's trying to reach the death penalty for him, and I thought it would have, like, imagine, because everyone was like, oh, like, what if he's like an op and he was like told to go do that and stuff. Imagine if you were just like, you tell someone, hey, you're gonna go take one for the team, you're gonna go shoot this guy, assassinate him, and then you're just gonna be spending your rest of your life in prison, you know, but like, we're gonna make it so you don't have to go to Gitmo or something. You can just, you're on death row forever, quote unquote, but like, you're taking one for the team. And then out of nowhere, it's just like, actually, we're gonna try to kill that. We're just gonna death row that guy. And then imagine him be like, that wasn't the agreement. Like I can't imagine, like,
I bet that happens.
like, he had to have thought of that before, like, because he didn't off himself. Like, he, like, literally had to have been like, I'm gonna go shoot this guy. Like, if it was all like him just doing it, right? Like, if there was no like op or CIA anything, if he just was like, I'm gonna go do this, and he had no intention of like, or he had to have had an intention of like, I'm gonna get caught. Because if you think you're not gonna get caught and the FBI is looking for you, it's kind of hard nowadays to run, especially when, you know, there's facial cameras everywhere and you have a phone and whatnot. So like, he had to have known that he was gonna go to prison. Like, did he think he was just not going to get the death penalty?
I have zero context on that whole situation, to be honest. It's like,
you heard about it though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know like what happened, and like, you know, it's just like, to add any other details, it's like zero idea.
Oh,
I don't know what he could have been thinking. Like, it makes no sense at all, you know?
Yeah,
so the only thing that actually makes any sense is like, he had to have been, you know, connected to CIA or somebody, right? Like,
yeah. But the reason I don't,
a third party.
Yeah, and the reason I don't think it was a CIA op is because he's still alive. You know, you could see obviously the Trump shooter. We've talked about that multiple times.
But is he still alive? Like the trial. How recent was that?
I mean, a couple days ago.
Right. So we haven't seen him since, right? Like, he's locked up now.
He's been in police custody this whole time. They like walk him around with like a bulletproof vest on and everything.
But like, at some point, he's like, just, you know, in custody. The public isn't going to see him again.
Yeah. So
at that point, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. So either he's going to be found, you know, in his cell dead for whatever reason they come up with, or he just, because we're not going to see anything. Like, even if they, I don't know what state he's being held in, but even if they try to push for the death penalty, like, it just continues, and it's just continual litigation of like, no, he's crazy, because that's all he's going to do is claim insanity. He's going to say, oh, I'm crazy, I mental institution, like, because he's not going to want to die, right? Like, he had all his ego to go do that. He's not going to want to die. So I feel like he's going to just fight the whole litigation process. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Dude,
it's going to take years.
Imagine you woke up one day.
Every day.
Your face was on the news for killing this thing, and there's video of like some guy that looks like you killing it, and then all of a sudden you get arrested, and it's like this whole thing, and then like, that would just be terrifying and the worst experience. But how are you going to explain your way out of it? How are you going to do anything? Like, you can't.
It's true. There was a couple things that, like, the facial cameras and everything that came out, people were like questioning if it was really the guy who they found and arrested.
I remember they were making a big deal about the eyebrows and stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
have you seen like all the, like, the shiesty masks that have his face on them or whatever?
It doesn't look like him.
dude, I mean, it kind of does.
Well, no, it kind of does, but like there's subtle things you're like.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what they use in the video, but I'm just saying like.
Yeah, there could be.
Crazy.
It could be like, hey, maybe it was him or not, but I don't know. Besides that, I don't know. There wasn't really anything I found too interesting
Of note.
Yeah, I mean the whole tariff thing is whatever. I mean,
Yeah, it's cool. Sure.
I don't know. I don't really know that whole situation. It's a little above my pay grade.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Well, I don't really care what happens with that as long as like you know, like we've been saying since we started this podcast, like everything's gonna move in the right direction. It's too early to tell anything. So
yeah.
I mean, when it's time to reap the benefits, like that's when we'll see, and I'm pretty confident it'll be, booming economy, a lot of allies, and just support and people willing to trade, and I think that'll reflect for just better quality of life all around.
Yeah, definitely. Something I'm interested to see, kind of going to like technology. I know we had talked about like the Apple Vision Pro or the, like the virtual AR or whatever it is, right? I wonder what the next big piece of tech they're going to sell to the public is. Like, are they going to go full like bodysuit immersion type thing or like haptic feedback? Or are they going to do like not like a gun because it's just like an airsoft gun. Like, I wonder what like the next piece of tech they're going to do is that like adds another layer to like that world we've discussed before of like full immersion.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna have. I mean, they sort of almost already have the glasses. Like I remember they were trying to do that for a long time, like the Google Glass or whatever. But they like sort of have that now. But I feel like that's gonna be the first step of like AR. It's not goggles or anything. It's just glasses, and it's like just a see-through screen. It's whatever. But it's not the same way where it's all together. It's just like a feedback on it, but it's for day-to-day life, right?
Okay.
Like you wouldn't want your phone attached to, you 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But you would want specific updates on certain things, like more data, right? So like, I don't know. I imagine if you like replace your eyeballs with like super robotic, sensors that could see a bunch of stuff, it's like you'd be getting, accurate temperature readings from the stuff that you're looking at. You'd be getting like data like that, right? Yeah. I think it's mostly going to be like useful things for like speeding things up, making things more efficient for everybody.
That'd be a weird world to think of, like, because in that world there is no monitors, there's no computers, there's no cell phone, there's no watch, there's none of that. So like, this whole thing of like people looking at their phones and stuff, that all goes away. Like it'd be a very like it's almost like it would be a 180.
It would be 180, but it would be crazy because it's like doubling down on the technology at the same time that we're reverting to not having to interact with it like we do.
Yeah. And
it'd be crazy because if I was like on my phone while we're talking, it's like, oh, you're pulling some information. What are you? But if I was just talking and I had it pulled up, it's like we wouldn't know that, but it's you just know that everybody is using it,
I personally think the next big thing that's going to come out is going to, so like the hearing aids, like a lot of elderly people have them. They're like those tiny like hearing aids that like go in your ear.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the next thing. So it's like you have one, you just get one put in, not like both ears, but just one. And then that's like playing music or you like sleep with it, so it like wakes you up, like that's your alarm clock in your ear, right? Or it's reading your text messages, your emails.
Why couldn't you have both?
Well, the only thing with both is like maybe some people just wouldn't want it in both ears all the time.
I'd rather have it in both than one.
No, I understand like the argument for it, but I'm just thinking like people would like imagine just having your AirPods in all day. I feel like people would be like, I'd rather, because some people just wear one, right? Because they want to be able to hear everything. So it's like if you had one that was still able to pull the ambient noise from outside, but then like you have a phone call, they both hook in or whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be weird though, because it's like,
well, some people like use those like inner ear monitors or whatever, and they're like custom molded like headphones for their ear, basically.
Yeah.
They say those are the most comfortable things. You don't even feel them. Like if it was something that you really just don't notice, like it would suck to sleep with some AirPods in. But if you had something that you just didn't notice, it almost felt like it was part of your body. Like that would be super useful, dude. And if they made it so that you could, still hear stuff like while you had them in, but if you could block it at the same time, that'd be super powerful.
The only issue I think would be if you were like sleeping with them, right? Like if it was meant to not take out, and we were talking about like 5G and stuff, but like those waves that'd be constantly interacting with your brain. But people would still do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like people would 100% still do that.
And I also think some of that stuff will probably just make people like more resilient in a way. Like,
oh yeah, it's definitely going to split. Like the further technology goes, the split is going to keep
like
happening.
if 5G is affecting like your brain frequencies and your ability to think harder.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
like you just get better at stuff, and you do. Like it sucks.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the price we pay for technology sometimes, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then clothing too. I think clothing's gonna. I mean, they've already tried it with like Whoop, like that bracelet that shows you like the exercise. Like they already have stuff where like your belt line, you can put a little device in it that reads your like the pulses or whatever from your body. I mean, they've always had it with like your foot, like a built-in pedometer or whatever in your shoe. So I would think like technology also in clothing is gonna go a long way.
Dude, I think it will too, but I think it's gonna go like to the point where like everything sort of converges. Fashion, armor, health stuff, just technology in general. But it's like, if you think of any sci-fi show, like what are they wearing? It's like some sort of like fashionable armor that's like sort of futuristic, maybe has some technology built into it.
Like the Mandalorian type thing almost.
Yeah, I feel like, that's going to be, not yet, but eventually people will move to that sort of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's tech is just going to get, I don't know. Like I could see, it's weird because tech is like in two worlds. It's like you want the tech to be out of the loop. Kind of like they have like that phone, like the unplugged phone or whatever, like the anti-Google phone.
Yeah.
So it's like there's that technology that's like, anti-establishment, but then there's the technology that's like for it. And then I feel like those are going to like clash into something. Because like you have like ExpressVPN, which is always fighting the group over here trying to use your data. But you're like, no, so I'm going to use this technology so you can't use it. So it's weird because I could see technology just growing rapidly because there's always like this party's trying to do something to you, but you want to use this party to stop what they're doing to you. Like, but it's all technology at the end of the day.
Well, that's like the thing about X. It's like, like all these other social medias, weren't allowing all this stuff. Now everybody's on X because, they allow it or whatever. Well, it's like, okay, but then you get to X and it's like, well, we still can't do these, or some people still do get banned, or, we can't really make money the same way. It's like eventually like something else is going to have to pop up, or, but yeah, that back and forth. I mean, it's a good thing because that just breeds like the next innovation. But sometimes it's pointless and they go back and forth. Like I hate Samsung and Apple.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, the worst thing that happened to Apple was Samsung becoming a direct competitor and really doing the same thing. Because then they both just said, yeah, we'll make 14 of the exact same phone. And I don't know. I think the future is going to be an exciting thing, but also like the strangest thing to adapt to. Like if you grow up without everything, having everything feels unnatural. But if you grow up with it, it'll, like these Gen Z kids. But speaking of them, somebody was making a good point, which was really interesting, right? Like they kind of grew up on TikTok, and they don't actually know anything about the world. They get it all through like 15 seconds. And so like in 15 seconds, they know the history of this or the outcome of this, or like that certain groups don't like other groups, and like, so they're learning these entire shaped worldviews in 15 seconds and thinking, I know that, and that's what it is. And so they're building their entire world out of these things that they don't really know. So it's so tough to like pop a bubble, but it's really interesting because maybe they don't really have like the skill set yet, just because they didn't grow up without it to like look outside of it.
Yeah, I mean, especially for like kids, because we're talking about like that younger generation, they're going to be, I think pretty soon, they're going to be swayed to like the new tech, right? So like our generation was like, okay, the video games, the PCs, like kind of that generation of like, we want to be involved in that tech. I think the next wave of people is going to be involved in like kind of like that body tech of like, oh, like this is the new thing to get like, because it always starts with the young kids because the trends build in the young kids.
Yeah.
And it makes me think because especially like college, right? Like people are addicted to stimulants and addicted to kind of like how stuff makes them feel, right? Whether it's like the way they look or just in general, like inside the way that they feel. So I started thinking about a device. So you know like, okay, if somebody has diabetes, right?
Yeah.
Like they have like an insulin
Pump
that like pumps it in their body, right?
Yeah.
So imagine, you know, those little patches that they have on the people's arms, and it like reads your metabolism or your levels of some sort.
I guess.
Okay, so imagine if there was like an iPhone sized contraption that was just implanted on your body with like needles that would go in, or somehow it would attach intravenously to your body to give you stuff. Imagine if you were able to put like, or these kids were able to put like alcohol or like heroin or like weed, like those chemicals, because like then they would just be like, oh, I want to feel a certain way. Boom, hit it. And then they instantly don't have to go do anything. They don't have to actually go find the material, or they don't have to go do the action. They just, because everything's so fast, right? Technology is just so fast that they're just like, well, I'm just going to skip the middleman of the agent that I'm using to intake it, and it's just already here. So it's like, I wake up, oh, just caffeine button, just click. Oh, cool, I'm awake now, right? And then they're like, oh man, like
you could have it automated too.
Yeah, and like, oh, I need to focus right now, I'm in class. Boom, Adderall, like stuff like that. Right? It'd be crazy, but I think that to me is like the next thing for the kids is that type of technology, like the instant gratification, or like okay, this is how this makes me look, so I'm going to do this. Because I think at the end of the day, people, like, especially like girls, they're worried about like their hair and they're worried about their nails and makeup. I think it's soon going to become, okay, I need these pair of glasses because they're like the glasses you were just talking about, like the Meta glasses or whatever. So I need this glasses. I need this shirt that's like the armor shirt or whatever. I need these shoes because they track all my steps. I need this watch. And I think that's what it's going to become. I think it's going to become, who cares about like the hair and stuff, and it turns very like techie.
Like you could be ugly and like torn apart, but if you have all your other stuff together, people don't even care.
Yeah, because then you have something to talk about, and then you just look like a video game player, like in the sense of like, oh, your skin looks different than mine.
It becomes like making the perfect build is, you know, what people would look at it as.
And I think that's what it's going to start going to, is because
it's interesting.
You put that on, you know, you have instant gratification for the rest of the day because of all the stuff you're wearing. So you don't have to worry about how you look because you know what you're wearing. But then you have that patch thing like I was talking about, and that controls like how you feel internally.
When you're talking about that, I envisioned it as like, this like surgically installed thing that you put, like, you almost get like a little like little vial, and you put that vial right in there, and then you maybe could load up a couple or however that works, but it's really meant for like vitamins or like, you know, good things for your body. But
at first,
once that technology gets invented, immediately they're putting drugs in there. You're 100% right.
But then you're gonna have one on the other arm, which is like your food intake,
right?
Where you kind of like, you go to your car to fill up gas. You just go to this place and you just plug your arm in, and it just fills up like the food that you need to eat. Because that way you don't have to eat anything because it's wasting time. I'd rather go play video games than eat.
See, I don't like this. This is like that Soylent Green movie.
Dude, that's where it's going to, is because the ultimate efficiency of like, I want to be fully immersed in entertainment. I don't have time to eat. I don't have time to cook or go to the grocery store. So it's like, if I'm in my car, what if my food supply is in my Tesla? And so every time I get in my Tesla, I just plug it in, and then a delivery service comes and refills my Tesla while it's outside. And I can be inside.
That's too close to Wall-E on Earth before it's even destroyed. Like, at least they waited, and like, you know what I mean?
But that has to be what it is, because
we're fast tracking it.
But then you're gonna get, then the thing is gonna be, oh, no way, you cook your own food? Like, no way. Like, who still does that? Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, because that's gonna be the new thing. Because like, you have,
what an awful world.
Just think about it. You had people that would cook at home meals, right? Hand make everything, And then the microwave came out and frozen meals was a thing, right? So that was the level of efficiency. And then it went to fast food drive-thrus. And then it went to DoorDash, where you don't even have to leave your house. What's the next step after DoorDash? It has to be something like that, where it's like, I don't even have to leave my house. Somebody just comes and refills something, and I'm just like gonna go stand on the wall and plug in this tube and just.
Dude, at a certain point, there has to be like people that go, hey, I'm not doing any of this. Like, there's the people that are just consumers, and they'll take all this stuff. They'll eat it up, but they're not really contributing because they're just consuming. So, like,
100%.
If the other people separate from that group, like, I don't know. Ultimately, that's natural selection. That's going to be great.
And then you're going to get companies that are like, hey, if you work for us, you get free refills for you and your family. So then it's part of your job. So then you're like, of course I'm going to stay at this job and do whatever because they're giving me free refills on my arm patch. And they're like, oh, we'll also pay for your drugs and medication or your heightened senses or whatever they want to call it on this other arm. And then people are locked in forever.
I'm just imagining some, like, I don't know, like the mob is going to come back in the future.
Oh, yeah, because
like
then
too much corruption going on.
Then you can control people because it's like, hey, you need to do this or I'm going to take away your stimulants. And then people are going to freaking, okay,
like
I'll
when
do
it's
whatever.
super normalized and literally 100% of the population is dependent on them.
Because think about it. If you take away a kid's phone who's addicted to their phone, they freak out and they have withdrawals because they don't have their phone. So if you do the same thing and you say, I'm going to take away your stimulants, that's actually something in your body's going to have a withdrawal. That's why drug addicts like have withdrawals because they can't get their fix or whatever. So I think that's what it goes to. But like pairing that with like the clothing, then everything, then it doesn't matter what's on the outside, right? Because they're already satisfied. So then everything goes to the head. And then it's like, okay, how do you make the head more efficient of getting the information it wants? And that's when like Neuralink and everything comes in.
Well, like it's kind of like this crazy thing where, okay, also, so first of all, like, you know, drug addicts are fairly smart for, you know, whatever. But if technology gets, and the more technology gets better, the smarter they get too, right? And so if that was really the technology that was going on, first of all, the technology is good enough to where like you can almost eliminate the possibility of an overdose or like certain things like that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just people would like it would become way too normal because it's so controllable, and then it'd be such a
but also
rug to pull out for people.
Because you might be like, well, how do you get people to do this? Like, what's the application? You were talking about first, you put vitamins on there, right? Mm-hmm. But then also you can put like anti-overdose medication in it in case you need it, or like EpiPen, adrenaline. So you can start putting those types of things, or like if somebody ODs on like Narcan, like if you need Narcan or something. So it turns into like your whole arm becomes a giant vial of stuff you need just in case. Oh, I need some Advil. Boom, hit this. Or my allergies are kicking in, some Flonex or whatever it's called. And like you hit it. I think that's what it becomes. I mean, just because people are going to want that instant, like, and then it gives people more confidence.
Well, okay. And so then basically, because you can't overdose and everybody's on it, basically that almost like, because you have all the vitamins coming in, you're taking care of all of the things that need to be done, you can sort of like neglect your body in the way of just, you know, doing whatever.
Yeah, and because at the end of the day, you can also look at aliens as a great description of this. They're tiny, their brains are huge, and they're skinny, like their body atrophied. So it's almost going to be like that, to where humans don't even have muscle because all they're doing is sitting in a chair, but their brain is so big because that's the only thing that they're exercising technically.
We're going to end up like a squid.
Yeah, you know? Dude, literally. It's like that's eventually, I mean, either it's Wall-E where you're huge or you're skinny like an alien because your body's atrophying. Because at the end of the day, people are like, the people who are going to the gym are either going because they're trying to do influencing or they're trying to look big, right? But there's a lot of work. So it's like, if you're able to put this machine on you to make you look fit or put like testosterone in you or whatever, like, I think that the laziness takes over and then people are just going to get stuck in their chairs. Because also Photoshop's big, AI's big. So then if you're like people that are on dating apps, the AI is just going to be photoshopping your body to make you look like someone you're not. And then eventually people aren't actually meeting in person. They're just like, oh yeah, this is my online boyfriend or online girlfriend.
But how these people are gonna have like robot virtual like wives or whatever.
It's gonna be weird. There's gonna be two classes of society: those who are like not into tech, and then those who are fully immersed and will never go back.
Clearly, yeah,
like 100%.
Yeah, and like yeah, you know, if they're abusing their body and doing all this whatever, letting it atrophy, like yeah, they'd probably just plug into something, you know, at night, and that's where they do all of their work.
Yep.
They'd really lock in there, you know. Yeah, but that would be just and
it would all be subscription based.
Dude, it's like, is that really how the Matrix starts? Is like we get all of that stuff to inundate us and set us up to like perfectly plug ourselves in, and then we just go into that thing, and it's like clocking inside a GTA.
Yeah, because all it takes is like, let's go back to like information like downloaded into you. Let's say we go to those things that's in your ear, right? And let's say it's somehow connected eventually to like a Neuralink type thing. And then you ask something about history, right? Let's say something about history. What if the AI decides to tell you something that isn't history based, but it's telling everyone at the same time? So it's lying to everyone. So everyone thinks, oh, this is the true thing. Eventually, this one class of people outnumbers this other class who doesn't want anything to do with technology. Then they vote in the AI to be fully in control of like the government, and then the government system then takes over, and then it goes to the Matrix.
It's robots. A virus, dude.
Yeah, and exactly, it's a virus. It's crazy. I mean, that's what the Matrix is. Like, they literally talk about how they had a war against this race of aliens or the computers or whatever, and it's because they were able to manipulate the humans based on what they wanted.
First of all, Skynet, Terminator, that's the war.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And it's funny too, because the biggest part of that movie Matrix is that like towards the end, when I forget what the character's name is, but he's the one who's like pulling out people, and he's like, I want to live forever in the Matrix. Remember that whole scene? Basically, he was like the traitor. He was like betraying all these people and went to the Matrix and was like, or went to those people, like the bots or whatever. He basically went and said, hey, I'll tell you who Morpheus is and all these Trinity is, and then Neo. So he basically was going to rat out everybody to live as a rich man forever in the Matrix.
The second like I would see his face, I'd remember.
He's like bald with like a weird mohawk looking thing.
Okay.
Or goatee looking thing.
Okay, yeah. But he was just one of the crew.
But that scene in the movie is basically showing the original sin of how humanity got to that point, where he was saying, I don't want to remember anything. All I want to do is be rich and famous in this world based off my mind. That's literally like the exact reason humanity ended up in that place, is what he said, is like, I want to be comfortable in my mind, because he didn't want to be human, because he mentions, I don't want to eat this food. This food's crap, blah, 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 blah. Like he wasn't like, he had seen the world in which he could be fully satisfied in his mind alone without his body. And then he was like, you know what? I don't even want my body anymore. I just want to be in the Matrix. So it's like, that is a huge moment in that movie, showing like that's why the humanity got there in the first place, is because everyone's mind is hooked up and living in a virtual world. Whereas if they came out of it and realized how much life sucked because you're running from those robots and you're in a submarine, nobody would want to live there. They'd all want to go back to where they're comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's like a huge like turning, or that's a huge moment in the movie.
Well, it's sort of like also at the end of the day, man, like some people would say, oh, you know, those animals don't want to be caged up, but we cage them up.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like, right. So it's like, and those animals are safe as long as they stay in their cage.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like a similar, I don't know, is technology a predator?
No, I think it's exactly what we want. But what we want is not always good.
I think it's like, it could be a symbiotic relationship, but it's probably going to be parasitic, most likely.
Yeah, but like, I think the biggest manipulation that we put on ourselves is we don't want, like a lot of us don't want to be real about a lot of stuff, right? Like people that drink alcohol. Oh, you know, I want to drink because it helps me loosen up. And, you know, when I go out and I socialize, but then that person goes back to their house by themselves and they're drinking.
Right.
Right. So they use an excuse to do the thing they want to do and trick their brain. Right. So the parasite is ourselves. So like, it's the same thing as if it was an iPhone. When the iPhones first came out, the excuse was, this is a great tool. You can use this as a tool. It has all these apps on it. And now what is it? It's never been a tool for the past 5 years. It's just a TV in front of you. Like, think about how many apps people have on their phones, and then how many of those apps are they actually using as a tool aside from work. Like, a lot of, like, there's the weather app, there's the maps app. You know, like, you can't use music because that's entertainment. Spotify, that's entertainment.
There's no calculator on the iPad.
They started taking that stuff off. And if you think about it, it's like, why are they removing the tools and just giving you entertainment? And it's based on what we wanted, because we lied to ourselves. Because anytime somebody needs to get something new like that, they try to give themselves a reason, and it's like, oh, well, I could use this for this reason. But then eventually that goes away.
What if somebody was like, hey, you know, everybody's got, you know, technology implanted in their bodies or whatever. What if we can slide in this chip, and this chip has an AI on it? And basically, when you go to deceive yourself or trick you into something because you think you want something, it will, like, make you realize, basically. That would be the ultimate solution, but then you're ultimately putting 100% trust in this AI not to, like, lie to you, manipulate you, or whatever. But I think a lot of people would take that sort of bait as, like, people are trying to, like, take anything they can to, you know, be clearer, sharper, you know, thinkers, and just, you know, I don't know. I feel like people would look at that like a limitless pill, and it's a easy way to do it. And at first it might be harmless, just like the iPhone. But then eventually, like, yeah, what happens when the lie updates hit? And, you know, yeah, who even knows who controls that? Who even knows who runs Apple truly?
Yeah.
Nobody.
But that's where the red blue pill thing subconsciously comes in, is somebody's eyes are opened to the parasite that they have become to themselves. Because people also want to blame, like, so many people want to blame the government, and they want to blame somebody else. They don't want to blame themselves for the decisions that they've made. Like, if someone's in debt, tremendous debt, you're the one who signed the piece of paper. You're the one who went to the store and bought that. But then they'll blame the government and say, things are too expensive, or like, how come I can't get this, right? And the fault is on them. So eventually they keep kicking it down the road of just continually making the same mistakes, and then just blaming the next person. And ultimately it's like a red pill, blue pill of like, do you want to wake up out of this dream and change? But a lot of people can't change. And it goes back to that scene where that guy says, I don't want to change. I want to stay in here forever because it's cozy.
If we could all sort of wake up together, just get on the same page of, like, you know, what actually matters, what's delusion, just like as far as a country, if we could all get on the same page there, we could deal with all the other countries and do everything we need to do, and nothing is in the way. But the fact that we, on an individual level, we have this war with ourselves where we're deceiving ourselves and doing all this, and then everybody else, we're trying to deceive them and do better than them, one up them, all this, whatever. There's zero focus, like, as a group anymore.
Yeah. What would you say that people would be, or I guess in your opinion, what would be, I guess that was just really repetitive what I just said.
In your opinion.
I was like, what do you think in your opinion? That's the whole premise, Samuel. Okay. But like, in your opinion, what would people be waking up from? Like, just the parasiticness of themselves, or?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's like,
because it's weird to think about Matrix wise, right? It's like, what are they waking up from? Because it's like, it's super physical in that movie that they're waking up from slavery.
Yeah.
But like, what would it be like? What would you say it'd be here?
I think waking up to, and it sounds so corny to say the truth, but it is, my opinion, the truth. Like, people need to wake up to the fact that everybody's a liar. Don't trust anybody. Don't trust any fact. You don't know anything. Everything you've been told is probably not correct. So don't trust it. You know, and I don't want to start going, hey, do your own research, but you can't trust anything else. So what else are you going to do, right? Like, whether that sounds corny or not, looking into stuff, making your own opinions, and you still might not be right, but you're better off than just 100% listening to what they're doing. Waking up to the programming that's everywhere, the massive control of every industry. Like, every industry has its hub that, like, if you don't listen to that corner over there, you're just not going to make it in that industry or be accepted, or, you know, wake up to outside forces outside the government that control the government, or wake up to, I don't know, just all this fabricated stuff. I wish people would wake up and not be so like easily entertained by the smallest little things, and then letting the biggest thing like slip under the rug. Like that's what they do all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like whether you're talking about like the Super Bowl or whatever it is, it's like everybody gets all excited for this stupid crap that's like doesn't mean anything really, and everybody tries to say, oh, this means that, and insert all this junk in there. And then meanwhile, everybody's distracted by that. It's like they'll just obviously throw some stuff in there that means something to them, maybe send some signals to other people, and they'll rig the entire game and make a bunch of money and like. But nobody talks about that. We're talking about that. But like most people and most people that have podcasts or anything like are not talking about that.
No.
Don't accept that as truth. If you talk to people and say sports are rigged, they're like, get out of here.
Yeah, it's like, why do you think it's so profitable? It's because it's rigged. Like, who's making the money and who's losing the money? Like, the casino ain't losing money. So if it was 50-50, everyone would come out even. If you're losing money, it's probably rigged against you. Now, I'm not saying you're not being forced. You know, you're choosing to do something, but like, it's also weird because like when somebody comes out of that, like the red, like they awake, right? That we were talking about. It's also interesting to see them awake, but then fall into something else that they claim is the truth, right? So it's like a manipulation of like they awoke from like realizing that they're a parasite. Right? That they're just like super like, or they realize what they were doing is like, basically they're ruining themselves. But then they go and fall into something else that's eventually going to be a cycle to then ruin themselves. And I think it's all a big cycle, right? That
but first they're going to leech off other people through that process for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you see people with like Ponzi schemes and stuff too, because somebody had an awakening moment and then they joined this group of other awakened people. And then the top guy is feeding them crap and teaching them how to be a parasite in a whole new way.
Right.
And then they go all the way down that. That's why cults are a big thing, right? It's because people had this awakened moment and then they were lying to themselves and now they're being lied to this person. And then they finally awaken them the fact that they were being lied to by this person. And they go to another thing and then they realize, oh, I was being lied to from that. And then it's just a circle and just keeps going.
I think when people are born, you're born in a bubble. And you are on autopilot.
Sorry, wrong one. There we go.
There we go.
Sorry, people.
You are born in a bubble, and you're on autopilot by default when you're born. And so, until something externally pops your bubble, or you pop your own bubble, you will be on autopilot. And so, all these idiots that are out there that why do these people do this? Can't they think? They're on autopilot. They don't get to think for themselves. They go for the default thing, the most simple thing, and they're comfortable with it and happy in their bubble.
Do you think you can pop your own bubble, though?
I do. I 100% think you can pop your own bubble. We'll get to that maybe. Okay. But the biggest thing is, once your bubble is popped.
It's so funny we're talking about popping bubbles. It's such a great analogy.
It is, though.
Like, such a great analogy.
So once your bubble is popped, you're never going to be on autopilot ever again. So now, everything that you did automatically, now you're responsible for doing it. And so you suck at doing all those things all of a sudden. You used to be able to do all those things really well.
You're on autopilot.
But now everything's hard. And you have to figure out how to do all of those things all at the same time and then get better at them. And so some people just stay in their bubble their entire life, and other people are out of their bubble, and it's like desperation to get everybody out of their bubble because otherwise they're going to die in their bubble, and
it's weird to think about?
Never go anywhere.
So the fact that we were talking about, like, can somebody pop your bubble, or if you can pop your own bubble, well, why isn't it that, like, sometimes you can't pop someone else's bubble? Right? Like, why is it that, like, you clearly 1 and 1 equals 2? How come you can't pop someone's bubble for them to then breathe the oxygen that was outside their bubble to then realize, oh, crap, like, why? It's like they've reinforced their bubble in like an echo chamber.
I guess the only way to pop, like, you're the only person that can pop your own bubble, but somebody else could.
You can allow someone
give
to pop?
Somebody the information or say the right thing that allows them to.
So you're saying everyone has to make the choice to pop their bubble, kind of like Neo grabbed the pill,
right?
But like somebody presented the needle to pop the bubble. basically.
Exactly.
So
It's
somebody said, "Here's the needle. You have to pop your own bubble."
it's invisible to you, and you're like, "What are you talking about? What bubble?" It's like, trust me, just pop it. And then if they have to take that trust and go, okay, and then but
then
it's a leap of faith.
So you want to know like the biggest brain blast is on this whole thing?
What?
Who was the first one to pop the bubble?
Because
if everyone's in a bubble,
well, you can pop your own bubble.
I mean, yeah.
So right.
Like,
It's still a question.
Who was the first one to pop it? Because then
Neo, the one.
So I'm so glad I only saw the first one. I've heard so many bad things about the other two.
I watched them all, and now I'm mad I don't remember that scene exactly. It's been too long.
It's a great movie, great rewatch. If y'all haven't seen it, fantastic movie. It's eye opening.
Don't watch the newest one.
When you watch that first movie, I think that's a bubble popping moment in and of itself.
Should have been.
But like if you watch it and you start looking at like everything they talk about, and in the world we live in now, you're like, oh my gosh, this makes a lot of sense.
Do you know how many people just didn't understand any of it? Like when that movie came out, though,
Really?
because nobody that wasn't a thing. Nobody knew what a Matrix was.
It's
really.
so deep. Like that movie is, but it's so obvious how deep it is. Like
It is, but our perspective now, where everybody's talking about the Matrix, and like it's this idea that we like know about now. But then it was like this back then. It was like a Matrix was a maze, or some sort of mathematical thing, and it wasn't this like computer program, like for sure, or the idea of entrapment or any of that.
Yeah.
So I think it was lost on a lot of people.
Did they ever talk about, I mean, I'm not trying to stay on the whole movie plot here.
Yeah.
But did they ever talk about how Morpheus got out, or how all of them got out of the Matrix? Because obviously he's the one presenting the pill, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if the whole idea is a pill can get you out, who is the first one to give the pill? Because in that movie, technically you can't pop your own bubble. You can, but somebody has to give you the needle, kind of like we were talking about. Mm-hmm. So it's like, who gave Morpheus the needle?
I don't know. It's a little too deep to know, but Morpheus is.
It almost is like there was always somebody outside of it. There would have to have been somebody outside of it forever.
But Morpheus is the name of like the ancient, like one of the Greek gods, or one of the gods of was it sleep or something like that?
I didn't know that.
So he's supposed to be like this kind of, I don't know if omnipotent is the word, but like this, almost godlike in the Matrix being. I don't know if he's really even a person like the rest of them. I'm not sure 100%.
Gotcha. Because it has a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the thing called when you have a flavor of something, but you have multiple flavors in it? Like if you have like a nice cigar, is it tones or undernotes?
Notes.
Notes.
Yeah.
So it has a bunch of notes of like Christianity and stuff in it, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of that type of stuff in the movie. So I think that's where a lot of it comes from. But it's interesting to look at it in a giant picture, kind of like we were talking about, of like the bubble popping. And like, who's the one popping the bubbles? And like, but then you have like, it's so weird because you were saying at the beginning, like everyone's like a liar. Like you were like, everyone's a liar. So it's like interesting that like you pop your bubble, but then you go into another bubble of this thing. Mm-hmm. And then like, you don't like, based on, you could be lied to going into that bubble. Right. Like, I don't know. It's just like it could be like a cyclical, like, how do you know you're, because like the whole Matrix thing is like, okay, they left the Matrix, but then how do they know if they've gone back into it or not?
Here's the biggest thing I think is that if you get caught up in trying to escape, you'll forever be trapped. But staying here and just getting comfortable is not the key either. So waking up, like you'll wake up, you'll have this big enlightenment, you'll learn a lot of stuff, you look at things, change your perspectives, but then it can't last forever. Mm-hmm. It's like you will get burnt out trying to stay enlightened. Everything's going to hold you down and weigh you down. Everybody else that doesn't get it, it's going to weigh you down. You're going to get tired and worn out, and you're going to go to sleep. You're going to fall asleep consciously. And then some people just go back to sleep and they're like, oh, that consciousness stuff is whack, whatever. Yeah. Or some people wake up, latch onto something, and then go back to sleep, but they're already committed to that thing. Okay, cool. And sometimes people will wake up for periods or whatever. But the truth is that you're supposed to, just like you breathe in and breathe out, like you're supposed to wake up and then do a controlled fall to sleep. Like you're supposed to like let yourself have the like get your time, know what you are, have it like instill in yourself, then go to sleep, whatever. If you need to take that period of rest so that you can then like re-enlighten. Now you have that period again, but it's gonna be different than the last one. So I think really it's it's the best of both worlds thing is what's going on. Where technology gets into it and where it gets invasive, I don't know. But as far as just like dealing with bullshit, it's a part of life, and you gotta like, yeah, it's good to realize like how much of it's out there and to know what it looks like, what forms and all that stuff. But like you can like half sleep on yourself a little bit here to just make life like, I don't want to just say easier, but like, it's like going to work, it's like, no, you wouldn't just like hang out and be yourself 100%. It's like, you're going to be a little bit professional and like do the things you're supposed to do. Like you gotta, I don't know, get casual for everybody else, like in the opposite type of way.
Do you think technology is breeding complacency?
Yeah.
Because I started looking at like, because the whole point, if we go back to the beginning of a country, right, the American dream was this idea of like, if you keep grinding, it's a forever grind, but like the goals along the way is worth reaping, right? Like it's like, it's going to suck, but it's like, you're going to earn your belts, right? Like in karate or whatever, right? Like you keep working hard, you're eventually going to like get to that point. I think technology is like breeding a complacency of like, or products in general, like of I've attained this TV, I've attained this couch, this bed. And it's like all this is breeding complacency to the point of like, okay. And then kind of like you were saying, now I'm just going to go back to sleep. And then the drive or that hard work just stops. Cause you're like, oh, cause for me, the idea is people pair retirement with stuff, right? So it's like, oh, when you retire, you can go get a boat. You can go get a house. You can retire and then go to sleep and be done contributing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think
that's why people die when they retire.
Yeah. But and then what's the pull nowadays is you can retire when you're 40. You can retire early, right? And you see all these people that are retired, but then they say, you know what? I need to go back to the workforce. Because it's like this drive that's in you to be like, I need to go back and like grind.
I think it's the human spirit.
Yeah, but it's crazy because like subconsciously no one thinks about, oh, technology's actually breeding complacency in you. It's teaching you to go to sleep instead of grinding. Because imagine if everyone was just grinding just to make, quote unquote, the world a better place. It would continue. Like there would be no end, right? But the whole technology thing is like the complacency sets in. That's when nothing gets done.
But okay, so what if like I'd go for a nap, that'd be great. Like, okay, cool. But if they were like, all right, sleep 24 hours straight, like I've had enough sleeping.
Yeah.
Like you're ready to wake up. You want to go do something, get out the house.
Yeah.
And that's what those retired people are probably feeling. But I think
burnout's a real thing too.
Yeah, it is. But also like with the technology breeding complacency, I think complacency breeds drive and innovation and like vision.
I mean, it's that cycle, and we've talked about it before. It's like weak times create strong men create good times create weak men, and then it's a circle, right? Continues. So it's like that's almost what it is. And then people talk about like, not to hit like a weird topic, but like privilege in society. It's like I think privilege is based on you being born into a certain cycle of someone's life. Because if someone's born in like good times, then they're going to breed the complacency, right? But then if they're born in weak times, then they're going to be coming out of the complacency into the grind. And it's almost like a cycle of grind and complacency of like you're grinding so much that you become complacent, but then that complacency eventually returns you back to grinding. And it's like
a perfect system.
It's like a yearning. It's like you yearn for the complacency until you run out of complacency. And it's almost just like sleep. It's just like a natural, like I've worked the whole day and then my body desires sleep. And then my body wakes up and then desires to go and make yourself tired so that you can sleep again.
But it's a weird thing though that it's like, you know, like the father, you know, works hard and he's awake, and then so, you know, he has all the money and like he retires probably, so he's going to sleep, and then his son grows up in the sleep, and then like, yeah, growing up in the sleep, no duh,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it's just weird. I think the whole system of like we just send kids to school and like they're supposed to
Yeah.
figure it out and do whatever. Like, no, man. Like from birth, basically, like as much as they can do,
Yeah.
you should be trying to, you know, get them involved with things, let them explore things, form opinions of their own, do whatever. And yeah, like people just, I don't know. Like I could never be one of those dads that's like, yeah, I'm super successful, and it's like, yeah, my kids just have whatever, do whatever, and I'm just not gonna care and just be irresponsible.
But it's because they're in that cycle of complacency. Because it's like I said, like, because I think everyone has, there is no, in this analogy we're using, there is no everyone's on this cycle. It's like everyone has their own cycle.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're born in the giant cycle, you could be born in like a week time, but you could be born to a family that's in like the grind part of their cycle. So you could be born into like hard work, dedication, but then some people are born in like a good times on the giant cycle, but they're born in complacency. So then they learn how to be complacent, and then their cycle affects their kids' cycles, and then that's why we have a class system. Is because you have people who are complacent and then people who want to grind, and then the complacent people are mad at those who grind and try to bring them down to complacency.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There's probably some astrology people out there that are like, yeah, you're speaking right now. I'm sure. Yeah. What do you think about like, yeah, cycles like that? Because like space and all that stuff that we know about stars, it is cycles for sure. Everything seems to be some sort of cycle that's living.
And it makes you wonder, like, based on what, right? Like, what would cause, and I think it comes down to the whole bubble thing, because, like, I personally don't think it's the moon, right? Like, it can't just be, okay, the moon is making everyone feel this cycle. Like, I think it goes back to the thing we were talking about, the people in the bubbles. I think it's like the people who are in their bubbles are creating the cycle. Like, for instance, we see voting cycles, right? Everyone wants to vote one way, and then 8 years later, everyone votes another way. Like, it's like cycles like that. There is no plateau, but I think plateau would be everyone's on the same page. Either everyone's complacent or everyone's grinding. So I think the whole point of the cycle is that the cycle that we're talking about of like you have everyone wants to go to complacency, no, like, and then everyone wants to grind, or like it's hard times and or whatever.
Okay, but is it not like, you know, it could be a circle, just a flat circle, but it could be a corkscrew where you're like actually going somewhere with these cycles, right? There's like a journey, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe another cycle that you're completing by the movement.
It's still a circle, but it's going.
It's almost like, yeah, no shit, you're going through a cycle. You are a tire on a car. This vehicle's going somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's 3 other cycles that are related to that and whatever, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a lot of stuff is like somehow just on this perfect system, and it is like out of control to a degree, and we all fall victim to the cycles. Like, I mean, I notice it. It's like, it's trends. Like we just call them trends nowadays, but those are just cycles. Like, and all these trends are old too, but they just like find a new way with the new social media or technology or a new generation that like changes it slightly, you know?
Yeah. But the idea, it's weird too to think about, because the idea of working hard, because if you look at money, right, and it's like the whole like grinding and complacency, let's use in this term, it's like retirement. So you have grinding, then retirement, right? It's like forced natural complacency. Like you're getting weaker, you can't do what you did, whatever. But it's like you're using the money from your grinding to then complete your life. So it's like in order to do it, you have to work hard here. So that way, when you can't work, it's able to finish off your life. But then it's weird because like you can affect someone else's cycle by like working, investing your money, all this stuff. And then now your kids grow up in like a good, easy time. But then some of those kids will be complacent with that money and not continue grinding for the next generation. So then it splits. It's almost like a family tree. Like you have 2 parents and then you have a kid, and then that kid gets married and then they have 2. So it's almost like the cycles just change forever. And it's almost just like a coin flip of like, is someone going to be born in a complacency cycle or are they going to be born in a grinding cycle?
Do you think people can break out of their cycle though?
I think so. And I think that's why the American dream is so amazing. Because if you look at socialism from everything we were just talking about, it just puts everyone in the same field and says everyone is going to be 50% complacent, 50% grinding their whole life. Like you can't, there is no, because if you get out of the cycle and you start achieving more, then you're making everyone else look bad. And they're going to bring you back down.
A country full of people half-assing it.
Yeah. Because think about why try if everyone's half-assing it? And then you try, and then you going above and beyond is then now you're making more money than everybody. And now, it's just like looking at billionaires now. And they're like, oh, that's not fair. They can't have all that money. And then people try to suck them back down to complacency to be where they're at. They're sitting on the couch watching TV, not working. It's not like they're out there working 40 hours a day and just like, I wish I could have his money because I could be doing so much more. It's like, no, they're all sitting on the couch with their free time, eating Doritos, going to sleep, playing video games. And then they have the audacity to look at someone who's grinding and say, no, come back and sit on the couch with me. We're going to be complacent together.
There's a lot of people that like, they'll look at some sort of feat, like some physical feat, like somebody playing basketball or something, and they go, oh, that's not that hard. A lot of people can do that. Yeah. But you can't. Yeah. Like if you were that person to try, like you cannot do that. The amount of hard work that takes to get there. And then maybe also, you have to be the right type of person, but that might have to do with the cycles you're born into or things like that.
Which is also weirdly strange to like, let's look at sports for a second. Those guys who are like so good and then they get out of the sports and then they hit complacency, right? And they have all this money. And what happens when a lottery winner wins all this money, they don't have to work and it all happens in an instant. You hit complacency and then you hit rock bottom immediately. And instead of going in your full circle, it's like you hit the top and you go straight back down to like, you have to instantly start grinding again. So it's like an ebb and flow of like, you need to know how to like use your complacency and like use your rest time. But then there's a time to start grinding again because the circle has to continue, right? But it's like if you use all your money, blow it, then you skip the rest time that you had saved up for, and you have to instantly go back. It's like people that you see retire and they didn't save up for retirement and they're 70 and they have to go back and work in the regular world because they're like, oh, I ran out of money. It's like basically that. It's like they weren't able to continue their circle. They cut their circle short and then they have to go right back to grinding.
It's sad.
Yeah, dude. It's super
It's
sad.
sad, dude.
But it's crazy because it's like, this is normally something that you could solve for every single person by teaching people in a freaking education system that doesn't care about you. Yeah. You could teach everyone how to grind and prepare for that complacency cycle or the retirement cycle. Like you could teach people how to get there, but they don't. And they basically, all they do is say, hey, we're going to teach you how to go into debt. And your grind just keeps starting over. Like you start your circle and you go back to the beginning. And then you start your circle and you go back to the beginning. You never have a chance to reach that retirement state. So they trap all these people in the grind. And so then the people,
but they have these built-in pitfalls.
Yeah. And they have these people at the top who then like don't, it's like they're preying off these people like scammers or people that are taking advantage, like pyramid schemers type thing. It's like they're trapping those people down there with subscriptions. So that way they can, so it's basically you cutting your life or you cutting it short and having to go back restarts their complacency. So it's like their complacency is about to end, but if they take your grind and pay for that with their complacency, they get to start over their retirement or their rest time or their free time, and you have to go back to beginning and you don't pass go.
That's true.
Isn't that weird? But it's like a pyramid scheme. It's literally like you then have to go take advantage of somebody else below you to get them to pay for your complacency time. And that's what the stock markets do, is they take the people's money who don't know how to invest and they sink the markets, take all their money. Now that person has to start over investing.
While the people that got the money, because the market sunk, they get to invest.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, I think, what the world is. But until you get out of that bubble.
That's what people need to wake up to.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then you're waking up to getting out of the cycle of like, okay, I'm an idiot. I've just been fueling this person's complacency
Mm-hmm.
with my hard work, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to use my hard work to fill my complacency. So it's almost like a meter. It's like you have to fill your, saying complacency, but in the sense of rest, relaxation, retirement, right? Like you have to fill
Comfort.
you have to fill your own comfort level with your own hard work level. So the only way to get to comfort is you have to work hard. But some people just get stuck.
It is crazy, right? It's like the person that worked out, went to work, ate well, did all this stuff, right? They go to bed, they sleep well.
Yeah.
The person that like didn't eat good, were playing video games, they don't sleep well at all.
Yeah.
You know?
And
Because you
life's,
didn't earn it, really.
yeah.
You
And
don't need it.
Life's a bunch of cycles. Like you could look at everything and it's a cycle of like you work, you buy this thing that you want, and now you ran out of money. So now you have to go back into the work phase. So you could look at it with like groceries, everything.
You were talking about the school system for a second. I want to go back to that.
Yeah.
It's a Rockefeller school system.
Yeah.
Like,
And think about it. Think about it. He literally created a system to handicap everybody from getting to their relaxation point. And it's literally like, nope, you're going to get into the cycle of debt and that's the other thing. They're selling fake retirement or fake complacency, where it's like true complacency is you don't have to worry about paying for a thing because it's true wealth, right? But fake complacency is, oh, you have this new iPhone. You have this new thing that's going to make you feel good. You have this new piece of clothing, this new car, but it's all fake because it's all debt based. And then you have to keep going back into the cycle. So you have all this stuff, you feel good, but you're in debt to it. So the grind can never stop because you're in debt. But that debt paid for his complacency, so he can just continue to be in retirement and complacency forever.
But also, like, when you accumulate that debt because you're irresponsible and you fall victim to it, and everybody else does from your it's like you're indebting your children because of that. Like, even if, of course they don't owe anything when they're born, but because you live in certain circumstances or, other things can put pressure on you because of your bad decisions and your debt. It's like it makes it difficult for them. And then it makes it difficult for them to break that cycle and actually, be responsible. One, acquire some wealth, be responsible with it, and then also not let you mooch off the entire thing. It's like, I always worry about like you could sell some land or do whatever. But like, what about your children? It's like, you could make a certain amount of money off of the farm. You sell the whole farm, right? But like, what about your future generations? And then everybody did that. Now there's nowhere to live. Nobody can find anywhere to live because all the land is owned. Nobody can settle anywhere, right? So you fall victim to these things. And then institutions like, the government can come in and set up shop however they want, really.
And that's, with the education system, that's why it's such BS when people say, oh, like you can't, the American dream's fake. It's like, if the education system was real, like it taught actually what needs to be taught, right? Like you teach, like let's say it's a perfect world in the education system. Everyone has the chance to fully learn the truth about the American dream, or like what it means to, how to make money, how to be smart with money, all that stuff. Then someone's complacency and hard work or grind meter is based off their own actions. But if you're already handicapping people, you're not teaching these kids to get out, because technically the educated should be able to then go learn how to make money and then provide for their family and get their family out of the family cycle of grind and complacency.
Right.
But if you're handicapping these kids, now this kid isn't able to get his family out, and then he's stuck in his family cycle unless he decides to go and work double hard. So it's like he has to grind twice as hard to then get himself out. Because it's like you can't, if you're not able to get your family out, then you now only have to worry about yourself. And you see that a lot in society where people are like I don't want to talk to my family or whatever, right? Because it's like they're holding me back or whatever. People realize, okay, I need to go and do my own thing. And then you see the parents come back where they don't care about their kid, but their kid becomes a pro athlete. And they're like, I've always loved my kid. I've always been there. And then everyone, you see all these people, you see with the lottery, somebody wins the lottery, everyone wants a bit of that money. right? Because like everybody realizes that your grind cycle just ended and you just entered complacency. But because they're still grinding, they feel the need to pull you back so that they can boost themselves up.
It's crazy that people have that need to, like, even non-monetarily, like just energetically, like people, if you're feeling good, people don't want you feeling good or doing good, or like people don't want you smiling or like looking put together. It's like people are real haters, and I just don't understand how somebody can, it's like I'll see something and be like, that's whack,
Yeah.
but I'm not actively hating on something.
Yeah.
And people go out of their way to not only hate, but somehow leech that energy, and like they do, I guess, feel good about these things, right? And it's like, I guess that's where like trolls come from, right?
I think people hate it though. I think that the way or the reason that people get the hate is because they see people wasting like money. Because if you see someone that's like spending $400 million on alcohol and just pouring it all down the drain, people get mad and they start hating. But I think it's where it stems from.
Yeah.
But then they take that hate and then they pass it on to other people who also have that amount of money, even though that person's not wasting the money.
Well, it used to be like flexing on the haters.
Yeah.
And then it's just flexing on each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happened? And but people will, it's like people that are being responsible and like doing the right thing and working the hardest. It's like people will hate for no reason. Like, and they're the type of people that would be, blowing money on bottles in the club.
Yeah. And it's because, that's the crazy part is the people that hate on the true grind. If they switched places, they would blow their complacency and start right back from the beginning of grind.
Yeah.
Like they 100%, because they don't know what it takes. The person who knew what it takes to get there doesn't have their money, but they don't know what it takes. That's why you see a bunch of pro athletes who came from absolutely nothing and they just got like the lottery. You come from nothing, you're homeless, and you win the lottery. You came from nothing and then you go right back to the beginning. So I have a perfect example of this. So it was the funniest video I've ever, like it's a documentary, funniest documentary I've ever seen. It was a documentary about, I think it was a group of moderately rich guys got together. They put $100,000 together and they said, we're going to see if we can get a homeless person out of poverty by boosting them with $100,000. So random guy, and this is all real. Like none of it is like Hollywood fake. It's a legit documentary. I watched it in college, and they literally give this guy, it was cringe because they like planted a briefcase of $100,000 where he could find it. And then he found it, right? And he didn't turn it in or anything, but it was, the whole point was like, they knew he wasn't going to turn it in. So it was like, okay, now he has $100,000. What's he going to do with it? He blew that crap in 3 months. And the first thing he did, he gave away his bike to somebody, and then he took care of some of his friends with like 10 grand. And then he rented an apartment, ordered pizza and cigarettes, bought 2 cars, and then blew the money on drugs and hookers. And then he ended up right at the beginning where he had nothing and he was homeless again. And then they interviewed him and said, hey, like, why are you back here? And he was like, no, man, all I need is another 100,000 and I got it this time. And I was like, that is so true, that like so many people would just hit rock bottom and then they think that they've learned their lesson and they'd be able to do it again and succeed, but they won't be able to because they don't know the amount of work it takes to get $100,000. They know the amount of work it takes to spend $20 on pizza, but they don't know how to handle 100,000. So if they got it again, he would just end up at the same spot.
I saw an interview, and this is a crazy one you can find on YouTube, but there's this black dude in New York who's a crackhead, but looking at him, you wouldn't know he's a crackhead. He's actually pretty well put together and talks pretty well. And
just like homeless?
No, he's not homeless.
Oh, he was a user. Got it.
Well, like he had been homeless before. It was like, a bunch of different stuff. But at the time of the interview, he was not. So he ended up basically, what was he? He had a skill. I forget what it was. It was like, whether it was software engineer or like some sort of computer skill that he had. And so he swung a job that was paying $300,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, live in corporate. I think they're paying for a car and like doing all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was a crack addict. And then just like, I don't know, I guess like he got hired, showed up Monday, showed up Tuesday. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he skipped because he was like smoking. He started smoking crack and started smoking better. Then he showed up on, you know, whatever day. And I don't know. I think he was like trying to play it off, gave him some excuse, whatever. And then he went on another bender the next day, like immediately. And then, you know, just blew that entire opportunity. Yep. And then, it's insane though, because he was talking about his experiences with that and how, he'd do it again. And like,
it's the regret. Because but that's the thing, the regret stems from an insecurity of not knowing how to attain that again. Because if you knew how to get the 100,000, like millionaires do it all the time, right? Where they say, I know what to do if I got this again, because they know what it took to get the first million.
Yeah.
So if I had to start over, I'd just do the same thing again because I know how to do it. If you don't know how to achieve a million and you run out, you're not able to be like, okay, I'm going to go start over and achieve it again. Mm-hmm. You're just stuck at zero. So that's the interesting part. Even if you give somebody, like these people, we were talking about the couch potato who's making fun of professional athletes. Mm-hmm. It's like, even if I switch spots with you, or if you switch spots with them, they gave you a contract for $400 million and said, okay, go and play basketball. They wouldn't know how, and they'd just get fired. Mm-hmm. Like nobody would want to watch you, and then you'd be right back on the couch being a couch potato and being like, okay, if I could just do it again, right? Or if this time, like, it's too late. Like it's crazy.
You know what I hate is like there's good things, and then people take good things to the max, and now it's cringe and it's a bad thing, and then that whole thing becomes demonized by everybody. Yeah. It's like, you know, I feel like the gym community has suffered from a lot of like, you know,
it used to be motivating.
It used to be,
because you see somebody either have a super nice body, and then the whole point was, I want what they have. It's gonna motivate me to work harder. But now it's just hating. Now it's like you see that person and you're like, man, screw that guy. He's showing off. Like it just turns into straight hating. And then that's why no one's able to.
But then it's like you're in there just working out, trying to stay fit. And you're like, what? You wouldn't be like that guy?
Yeah, it's like, look at that dedication. Yeah, literally. Because it used to be like, that's why you would, and it sucks because let's look at retail, for instance. This is a good analogy. Mm-hmm. So it used to be you'd start at the bottom as a bagger, and you'd work your way up to in the store, and then you'd work your way up to small management, and then you'd work your way up to management, and then you'd work your way up to your own store. It used to be the cycle of you'd see the person in front of you, their pay motivated you, and then the cycle would keep going. Nowadays, people are complacent. They don't want to move up. Each level of the ream, nobody wants to keep moving up. Everyone just wants to stay. So now you have people that are managers in like, let's say it's the small management. People are in that position for 30 years, which means no jobs are opening up in that level because they've hit complacency and they don't want to keep working, which means everyone behind them gets held up. And then the younger generation who is supposed to be shown how to do hard work and motivate up, they get complacent at step one. Yep. And so then they're stuck at step one forever. And if you spend 6 years there, if you go to change careers, you're still stuck at step one because your experience is only step one, unless you lie in an interview, which a bunch of freaking people do.
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
But I'm just saying, anyway. But complacency also drives like ego and like lying to yourself and stuff. But anyway, so it's so weird how like you can see it just in the work industry, right? Is like the more people that get complacent, the more it just affects everything.
I mean, it sucks because there's like a serious lack of pathways for people to go because those people are in the way.
Yeah.
And you see it like jobs that like, you know, high schoolers should have or, you know, 20-year-olds or whatever. It's like, all of a sudden it's like 40-year-old, 30-year-old, you know, it's just gotten older and it's a different crowd. And then so now the jobs that like young people can actually even get, it's the same way that like, oh, why don't you go get a paper route? Yeah. How are you going to do that nowadays? Like, you're not going to do that. That doesn't exist. And so, like there aren't any and those used to be the freebies for like kids and young
Yeah.
people. And so there's no freebies anymore. And then the ones that aren't freebies are taken. So what are you to do? It's like you're more likely to try to do like become a streamer or, you know, become the best at a video game or just something different that's like a snowball chance in hell that it could work. But if it does, it's a huge payout. But you have massive amounts of encouragement from online, from other people saying that they do it. So, you know, I don't know. It's like there's definitely a pivot away from, you know, physical work or like customer service based things. And like people are more, I don't know. It's like they're focusing on it and that's good. But I just wonder, like, at a certain point, that's not going to work out for a lot of people. And so just like you were saying, if you've been at level 1 for 6 years, you just have level 1 experience. They have level 0 experience for 6 years. So like what happens then, you know, and then the level 1 jobs are still full. So yeah, I don't know.
And I think it goes back to, we were talking about how the government and the education system doesn't teach people how to find that success, because you have to find it. You have to go out and like learn what hard work is, right? So normally it's the parents saying, go get the paper route, all this stuff. But like people gain the complacency from the technology and stuff we were talking about at those like the small management position, and then they get complacent because the government's, or not the government, but because it goes back to the whole thing where this billionaire, this top person, or the stock market thing we were saying, is like holding that person down in that spot. Right, because they're being fed the complacency from the technology and the new phone and the new couch, the new bed or whatever. So they're comfortable. They don't need to move. They realize, oh, I've reached my complacency here at this point, and then those people can't move out of that next ladder, or if they do, they have to work twice as hard.
I think the solution is like when you become complacent, do something else.
But some people can't get out of that bubble.
Yeah.
Some people are just like, they don't know how, or woe is me.
But just like the bubble, because I was going to say this earlier too, like just because you pop your bubble doesn't mean you know what to do. Like, you know, you're not good at anything. You were on autopilot before. Now you're not on autopilot. But like, you know, people are so attached to their beliefs, and that's sort of their bubble, right? And then when they break it, they're, you know, they almost like when people wake up, they act like, oh, now I know, now I can, man, what was I
have
trying
the
to say?
freedom to do what I want to do now, basically. Like I have the freedom to explore. Like they get out of their bubble and they're like, all right, now I have now nothing's holding me back. Now I'm able to go and start doing all my stuff by myself.
Yeah, I'm forgetting exactly what my point was,
Gotcha.
but yeah, I mean, you feel like you can do everything, and man, I'm reaching for it, dude.
No, you're good. I know what you're talking about. It's like there's no limiting factor, because the limiting factor was your bubble. You get out of your bubble, and now you're like, okay, the sky's the limit, and now you're able to go and do whatever you want because there's nothing, quote unquote, holding you back.
Oh, it was basically but you're not ready for anything when your bubble breaks. It's like you would hope it's like, oh, now I'm ready to go do anything because I'm not trapped, but you're not ready for anything. So it's like, you know, if you're basically, my point where I was going to bring it up earlier was, you know, don't quit your job because you feel like you woke up to the matrix and you like understand it now. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
You don't. Like you understand that you didn't know before, but you don't get it. And so what you should do is
get another job.
Yeah, but start working on that, right? Like idea of what that could be, where that's going to be, what that's going to look like, what you want it to be, and like putting effort towards that. And so that's the biggest thing is like just because you wake up doesn't mean that you have a free ride to anything.
Yeah.
It's like now the work begins, right? So yeah, you really just gotta, anything is possible, but you're the one that has to do it. So
yeah, 100%. And it's weird. I mean, it's such a interesting analogy, just all stemming from that movie, The Matrix. But at the end of the day, like, that's why everyone says, like, I hit rock bottom. And once you hit rock bottom at the beginning of that grind cycle, you have that ability to choose what to do. Like, imagine you got arrested for something and you get let out of prison after 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have nothing. You're at the bottom, right? Like I'm just using hypothetical. Like you're in prison, and then your life starts over. Whatever you've hit rock bottom. So now all you have is decisions to make. The sky's the limit at that point. And some people take rock bottom, and you see them, and they go for it. You see Robert Downey Jr., right? Like,
right. Good example.
He went from starting at the bottom, now we're here, right? Like that's the whole idea, right? Is like you have to start from broke, and then you can work your way up. And then the whole time you're working and you're learning how to grind, you make all this money, and now you're not worried about going to the bottom because it's more confidence. Because you're like, if I do have to go to the bottom, I know how to get back up to the top because I did the journey. But people also make the decision when they're at the bottom, well, I'll just be complacent at the bottom. So that's when you have like sometimes homelessness is at the bottom. Sometimes drug addiction is at the bottom. You know, sometimes being addicted to like prostitution, porn, like the stuff like
Gambling.
like all that happens. Those decisions happen at the bottom because it's a quick comfort. It's something quick. Like I don't have to worry about working, right? Or I do work, but I spend it. And it's like, so either you'll have half the people go up because they know how to grind, or the people that stay in a super small circle at the bottom of the beginning of the grind because they can't get out, and then they trap themselves in that bubble of their own complacency at the bottom that they just can't get out of. So that's why you see people that are like, oh, we just got to go and like get those people out of that bubble. And it's like, that's their home. That's the bubble that they've made for themselves.
That is true.
Like it's also annoying because you see people, they're like, we need to tax everybody and use your money to get this person out of their bubble. And it's like, that person's been in that bubble for 40 years. They've hit rock bottom 40 times. And they've had the opportunity to keep getting out, but they don't want to. So that to me is like the weird, is the biggest argument of like, sometimes you just got to let that person be in their bubble.
I agree. But sometimes
some people need help getting out.
Sometimes people
I'm
need
not
getting
saying
help
I'm
getting
not
out,
saying that we don't help people, but
you don't like shake somebody out of their bubble and abandon them and good luck.
Yeah,
like,
it's like some people just get stuck in that. And that's why, I mean, going back to like gambling, that's why casinos are a thing. It's for people that are trapped in that bubble. Like at the end of the day, casinos should be banned because morally, if there is no, but then it's like the whole like, you know, you have the right to be an American and it's, you know, freedom of whatever, right? So it's like, but there's like casinos that like continually trap people in there. Because think about it, if you're addicted to gambling, you know, there's a casino open 24/7 in Vegas. So I'm going to go move to Vegas so I can always be in my circle there.
That's crazy.
So it's like,
a lot of people do that probably.
Yeah. So we're just going to take all these people, put them on an island, make them go through their withdrawals, and then put them back into society. But mentally, in a hypothetical situation of like, some people you're not going to be able to get out of their bubble. Some people you can help, but like you have to realize that in order to get them out of their bubble, you're going to have to grind for them until they can walk on their own.
Okay. But what about when I'm already out of my bubble and somebody's trying to get me out of my bubble?
One more time?
What if I'm already out of my bubble and somebody's trying to get me out of my bubble? Meaning that like, dude, I already am woken up to like what is and what isn't, what's not going on. And that might be a delusion. Maybe I'm just in another bubble and that's the one they're trying to wake me up from. But like when somebody is like I've actually thought about things for myself, made my own opinions, evaluated things for real. And then somebody's going to try to like force feed their everything onto me. Like, I hate that. I hate that. I wouldn't do that to somebody.
I think the reason the force feeding comes is because like there's, so like a tree bears a certain fruit, right? So it's like hard work bears money in today's world, right?
Yeah.
Or like complacency bears laziness, or, you know, like homelessness or whatever, any of those things that like
decay.
Yeah, decay. Perfect. So it's like if you're bearing the fruit of the things of complacency, people are going to come to you and be like, hey, you look like you're stuck in this. I'm going to try to get you out of your bubble. So sorry, my throat has a tickle in it. The interesting part is when you're on the road of grind.
Yeah.
And then people try to come into that.
Right.
Because they see a different way to achieve that grind than what you're doing. And that's why it's hard, because you'll see stories of parents like kids that are like really good at video games and they're grinding and they're like, I'm streaming, I'm getting all these people. And then the parent, and this happened when we were growing up, parent be like, no, that's a waste of time.
Right.
You're bearing the fruit of complacency. So you need to stop. Right. And then you have rebellion. Kids are like, you don't know what I like to do. Right. And that bred the whole, like a whole movement of like, now kids are going into streaming, but now parents are not as against it because they see that this can now be tied to the things of hard work, which is the money. So it's like people that try to put people or think that people are in a bubble and try to get them out is because they don't realize that there's a way, like in the sense of like achieving money, they don't realize that way, but it's because they're associating it with something that they deem as complacency, even though to the person it's not complacency.
Right.
But then is that person going to be egotistical or listen to that person talk? Because if you listen to them and say, thank you, because it's like, it has to be out of love, right? It has to be like, this person loves me to care, to talk to me about this. But then I have to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And then that person has to say, okay, you've made your choice. I'm still here. I'm still your friend. I still love you, and I'm going to be here for you if you need anything. But the issue is when then you're basically the ego, there's an issue on both sides. Somebody can be egotistical and say, no, screw you. Like, I'm not listening to you, blah, 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 blah. Even though they might have had a sliver of something good to say. Or the other person would be like, you didn't listen to me. Screw you. I hate you. And like, and now you've broken that bond where it needs to be like, that's why friendships are important. Cause like you can see something in your friend's life that you might be like, hey man, want to let you know, let's have a conversation. That friend could either be like, oh, that's stupid, screw you. Like, how could you do that? Egotistical. Or the other friend could be like, you're not listening to me, screw you. But it needs to be like, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this, work through it. But then at the end of the day, both parties need to realize that they each have separate lives and that eventually someone's going to choose to be in the bubble, to not be in the bubble. But the bubble is then like, oh, what's the word? Relative. The bubble is then relative to like each person. So it's like this person needs to be like if it's smoking cigarettes and someone's like, you need to stop. And this person's like, I've been doing it for 40 years. I'm fine. That person needs to be like, okay, I'm here. We can still be friends.
Right.
And I'm going to be here for you. Knowing that I know that this is probably not good for you, but this person's decided to continue doing it. But like, I think that's like the structure that needs to be. But then this person, like the person who was on the receiving end of like the talking about the bubble or whatever, they have to not be like egotistical to that person and be like, okay, we're still cool. Because like if it's truly your friend, if it's a stranger, then it's whatever. But like, let's say it's like a friend or a family member. A lot of times
it is strangers though.
No, yeah, but those people, they think that they've found the key to unlock everyone's bubble.
I know, and they think nobody knows anything.
Yeah,
and like
and that's why conversations are so important, because there's like, look at this conversation, where it came from, where it started, where it came from. Like, there's so much that people can talk about and get out that some people just want. You didn't listen to me for 5 minutes? Screw you. And it's like, how about you go build a relationship and a friendship with that person, and then you know how to talk about stuff. And then there's a mutual respect of like, you know what? This person like loves me, cares for me, has conversations with me. I'm going to be willing to listen to them. Even if I don't agree with anything, I'm still going to listen.
Right.
And then eventually if everyone just did that, that'd be huge. But it's because you have egos on both sides of this person's like, I know everything. And this person's like, well, I don't even want to listen to you because I'm doing my own thing. So it's like, there needs to be that like conversation.
Yeah. I think it's like, dude, if somebody was like golfing and you were like, oh no, your swing is all wrong. Like, yeah
literally,
like,
dude. I know. Yeah.
Dude, but if
annoying.
you just said, hey, if you move up an inch on your grip, I think you can hit it, whatever. Right. Yeah. It's like, just, lob a little tip over there with some love, and it's on them at that point. It has nothing to do with you. Keep on moving.
Yeah. It's all, what's the word?
Relative.
No. It's,
Shaboingo.
No. I forgot what it's called. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say, but you can keep going. I'll
But,
remember it in
yeah.
a second.
I mean, just people need to learn how to let other people be themselves, no matter what that is. And I know that's like contradictory because at a certain point, people feel like being themselves is, getting in other people's spaces or
Oh, I know what I was gonna
making
say.
them do things or stuff like that. But like, no, just in a general sense, like, you know what I mean though?
Yeah.
Like people just can't. People need to accept that they don't actually have control of
Yeah.
other people,
Yeah.
and all you can do is offer
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah. I think the reason that the conversation needs to start is based off of being able to reason and have a conversation with somebody. Like be able to bring logical facts. Like debate, right? Like normally a good debate is two sides with logical facts trying to intertwine and trying to push against. It's like a paradox, right? Like this thing's pushing against this thing, but they're both reasonable. And it's like,
And then both parties learn a lot, and
Yeah.
the audience learns a lot. Yeah,
and then each person gets to make their decision based off the reason presented. But some people don't want to do reason, and it's like, if I want to like prove to you that smoking cigarettes is super bad for your health, okay, I'm going to come with facts. I'm going to come with like other people's experiences. And then all I'm doing is presenting to that person. I am not expecting anything in return. I'm not expecting, because then that's where ego stems from.
Right.
One person changes someone else's life, and now they think that they have the ability to change everyone's life. And so when they go give advice, now they're like, well, your life wasn't changed. I was expecting your life to be changed, and you're ungrateful and you suck and all this stuff. But like people have to be able to present something and be like, here you go. This is all I have to offer. That person could be like, no, I'm good. And this person needs to say, okay,
right.
like that was my reason I brought to the table, and your reason was no. And then I'm saying, okay, let's continue to live life. But then this person gets egotistical, and then that's why you have hate cults and all this stuff, is because people who think, the world's ending, let's go jump on a comet, then the egos go straight up, right? That's why cult leaders are just, because basically they've convinced this giant group of people that they're it, and then everyone around them is telling them you're not it, and then their ego goes through the roof, and then just you have the whole Jim Jones thing,
Yeah,
the Kool-Aid,
gotta love it.
the Kool-Aid and the bubbles.
Unrelated entirely.
Great name for a t-shirt.
Just a
or
question.
movie. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think happens when you're sleeping? What do you think dreams are? What do you think that is?
There's two things. So I think about this a lot. You have somebody who does something super repetitive, right? Overly obsessive. Obsessive is the word I'm looking for. So let's say you play video games, right? A lot, and it's Call of Duty, right? Something fast paced. So your brain is constantly seeing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
I think dreams can become some form of memorization.
Absolutely. You've had those dreams.
Yeah, for your body, because
Yeah.
it like reaffirms something that you would have forgotten about, but your body viewed it as important, so that when you wake up, you remember it. So it's
Yeah.
like if you keep singing the same song, or you hear, this is where it gets crazy. So
Yeah.
advertisements have jingles, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you hear this jingle get stuck in your head, and imagine the same type of thing, and then you're doing it so repetitive, you're hearing the same thing, you're seeing the same thing, you start seeing it in your dreams, and that means it's your body's way of helping memorize and like dwell on information that might have
I think
resonated.
processing too.
Yeah, processing for sure. But then you wake up, and it's almost like you've given your body a chance to make a decision, but I think the decision's already made in your dreams.
Right.
So your body,
the classic, I'll sleep on it.
yeah. So your body's literally, I'll sleep on it. Like your
Yeah.
body is literally deciding how to process, but I think it depends on how much you let it in. Like for instance, if you watched a video for 24 hours about milking a cow,
Yeah.
right? Your body would equivalate, okay,
Yep.
is that the right word?
Sure.
Your body would take that amount of information and say, okay, they spent 24 hours must have been important. Then you see it in your dream to reaffirm it. And then you wake up and then you're even more strongly convinced or persuaded or agreeable to that thing in your dream. So I think it's that some sort of memory or processing for your body to be more structurally sound. That's why people say memorization is a good thing, because you're able to literally, you'll have dreams where you're like, oh my gosh, like, or if it's a movie and something resonated with you in the movie, you'll dream about it.
Yeah.
Or a scene in it, right? And then you wake up and then you've resonated on it, and then you have that same dream 2 months later. And it's like your body reprocessing that and seeing if you still care about it or if you don't care about it. But sometimes it feels like a dream gets stuck in there.
Yeah.
And it's something you don't want to do or you don't want to think about. And it's almost like your past is haunting you. And it's like it's like your body is choosing based on the adrenaline or chemical release you had in that moment. Did something really matter? And your body's saying, you know what? That was so important. I don't care if you don't want it or not. I'm just going to keep giving it to you.
Or, see, now you start talking about something. So what if, like, your past, like, dreams are definitely processing simulations in some sort of way. But if it's like pulling up all your memories and feelings about all these things and maybe culminating them into something that's maybe not exactly what that was, but there's elements of it, it represents the combination of it all, right? And then, so what if it's like what if I had, your worst memory on a video, and then I strapped you to like some sort of crazy like dentist chair, and then put you on drugs that make you feel a certain way while I'm showing this to you. And then so maybe you don't feel so bad about it and you can process it a little bit different. It's almost like being on anesthesia or something. It's so that could be something, but I definitely think processing for sure. I've for sure had like dreams where I'm like, I was into Tarkov heavy, and then I'd go to sleep and I'm like in a gunfight. Dude.
Yep.
And
literally. It's your body's, it's like your body's way of processing like, well, I did just spend 40 hours looking at this one thing that's the same. Well, let's engrave that into our memory.
But like to me, when I was having those dreams, it wasn't like, because like Call of Duty is a little bit different maybe, where like you might be, it's the same maps, it's the same all this whatever. So it's like, that's the way that the knowledge is. Tarkov, it's kind of like that, but really not. It's like, for me, it's more about like just the tactics of the fight. Okay, so I can't even really give you a great example of it, but like, man, there's just so many different things that you could do. So then when you're running the gambit of what they could do and what you could do back and forth and just like playing out the result, even though it's not the real thing, I don't know. It's a weird thing because you don't actually get any data out of that, but you feel like you do.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like a reaffirming thing. But then I also think the other side of it, of dreams, is like, I mean, it's kind of the same. It has some similar elements, but like the things you want and the things you don't want are intertwining, and some reason your mind is fighting over those things. So it's like, I'm not sure if there's subconscious things. So like if you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off, you react. You don't like that thing. You don't want that thing. But then something great happens, right? Like, it's like your body takes those two.
Saratoga.
Your body takes those two things and fights over those. And it's like some sort of battle or some sort of plot or adventure or something plays out where it's like, because like, think about it, you have a nightmare, right? Yeah. So it's like there's an overwhelming amount of like bad that happens in that dream. But then you have some dreams you're like, that was amazing. How come I can't write that down? It's like, that was like really good. So it's like dreams can also be like your body trying to, maybe it's just trying to process that emotion that you went through, or it's, I don't know. It almost seems like it's your body's trying to, but like, why would it be something?
You ever had one of those like weird liminal space dreams where it's like you're in a place that totally exists in the dream world, and then like maybe it's like I don't even know how long. You have a dream where you're like, wow, I'm in this hotel or in this wherever, and it's like the exact layout and everything is like, man, you have instant goosebumps and are about to cry just because of like how real this place feels. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I haven't had this dream since I was probably like 4 years old,
then
but
you
it's
remember it.
completely blanked out for your memory.
Yeah.
You don't like
Yeah.
none of that, but it's just like, the second that you're there, it's thick.
Yeah. And that's why people have deja vu moments.
Yeah.
And that's why people, because sometimes I've heard it explained like, oh, deja vu is you looking like something happened, but your mind plays it back like 5 seconds later, like it didn't just happen. And then you're like, where'd that come from?
Right.
I don't think that's deja vu. I think deja vu is like going into your brain and you have something similar that happened in a dream or some state.
Right.
And then your mind is holding on to that somewhat image that like seems fully clear, but it's not. And then something happens in real life that relates to that thought, and your brain takes that partial thought and associates it with something that's happening that's super similar, and you're like, what the heck, did this just happen?
But have you ever had super deja vu? Like
yeah,
where you,
yeah, for sure.
where you're like, oh, like it's Truman Show. You're like, hold on, this is going to happen, then that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And whoa, keep talking. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
And it could be placebo. Like you just,
sure.
as you're noticing the things, you're like, I don't know.
I'm gonna try some.
But it feels so
Saratoga.
real. Like you could just, I don't even know, dude. But yeah, dreams are a weird thing.
This tastes like a blue water bottle with water in it.
Yeah, it's I don't know, something about it tastes like almost medicinal. Not liking it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely tastes weird. Maybe it's those plastic GMO things that are in there.
yeah, whatever those are.
So then it starts to, that whole conversation, now we get into like the Food and Drug Administration and the things that you're eating. Because then the things you eat can also affect your dreams and your sleep. And that's scientifically like accurate and proven, right? Like if you eat a bunch of this stuff before you go to bed, you can have some weird reaction. So it's almost like your brain's trying to process stuff, but then you have a nightmare. Maybe that's because of the food and the chemicals, the way that they're interacting is like, and that could be like what it is too. Let's use this as an example. You take a cold bath, your body tenses up. Take a warm bath, your body relaxes. What if a good dream is the warm water and a nightmare is the cold water? And like the nightmare is making your body from processing. Your body's just trying to fight, and you just and you wake up, right? And you're like, I just can't sleep or whatever. But you have a really good sleep, and that your body's able to continue that dream, get you into REM, and then you wake up and you're like, wow, that was a great sleep. And it's almost like the more relaxed you are, the more lucid of a dream or the more relaxed of a dream you're going to have and get to sleep. But if you're going to bed stressed or you're going to bed whatever, then your body's going to have a hard time processing that. And then you're going to have that like nightmarish, or not nightmarish, but like the can't sleep type thing.
Don't you think it's like crazy though that we even have to sleep?
I don't
Like
think,
what is that? Like
I don't,
like no, like the process of falling asleep, not rest. Rest makes sense. But like what is this mode where we completely like our senses shut off entirely, like that is a crazy thing.
I definitely think, because people talk about, I'm going to go recharge my batteries, right?
Uh-huh.
So your synapses are all electrical like signals basically. So it's almost like they get worn down. It's almost like you have a bunch of batteries in your head and they all, this is weird to think about, but like they all run out of battery. So something has to recharge that battery. So then your body takes the food and energy that you have before you go to bed or whatever, right? So then you go to sleep and then your batteries are then being recharged by something else, refilling all those small little batteries. Then when you wake up, your synapses are like full, right? That's something I think of.
But what if they're not? Like I feel like, like people go to sleep and then it's like
I had a terrible sleep type thing.
well, I don't know. Even sometimes when you get good sleep, it's like you wake up. It's not like your synapses are just firing and you're just like, because you'd be awake, you'd be so like on it. And then even when you do wake up, it's not like you just get better. I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's exactly how I was before I went to sleep. So why did I go to sleep?
But that also, because it makes you wonder, what if it has to do with like the 5G and like people will sleep with their phones next to their head and.
Oh, I don't know. It makes me think that like if we didn't have all that stuff, we'd be able to, like, we wouldn't even need as much sleep as we do. Like we're scrambling for it, but like because we have all that bad stuff, we can't get proper rest. Like people aren't getting REM sleep like they should. But if you took all that stuff away, like people would get their REM sleep and then they would have more energy throughout the rest of their day, and they would be up longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some people do it, but they're grinding themselves to death. Like, oh, I get up at 4 in the morning, and whatever. But like, they're tired, they're overworking, they're compensating, they're probably taking a bunch of, supplements and all this different stuff just to keep that pace. But do we need to do all that stuff if we were getting our proper sleep, actually able to recharge those batteries? Because like I'm saying, I feel like most people wake up and like don't get charged, even though they maybe had a dream and they feel like they were got a good sleep, well rested, but like mentally it didn't do anything. Like, all it did was sort of.
I also wonder if like you
I don't know.
overexert your body in some way, because like let's say you go run a marathon.
Yeah, I was gonna say let your muscles relax.
Yeah, like if you go run a marathon and you try to sleep that night, you're gonna have a terrible sleep because your body is like in hardcore recovery mode, that it's almost like keeping you awake. Your body's like over processing the reproduction of like your torn tissue, your broken down muscles or whatever, that it like makes you have a bad sleep. So it's like, I feel like the only way you have a really good sleep. Okay, this is a good example. So your muscles atrophy when you don't use them, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you're plateau. You're using your muscles efficiently every single day. You're eating the same exact food every single day. Everything's like a plateau, perfect. I think your sleep then becomes like perfect because you're in that like the routine or whatever. Like people say, I'm in a really good routine right now. I'm sleeping good. But when you add an aspect of like overexertion or like brokenness or heavy emotional toll or something that your body has to deal with, and you don't deal with it during the day and you go to sleep, it's like your body then it eventually just gets taken out on your sleep because your body had to deal with it in some way, and maybe it didn't deal with it fully. So then you wake up and you're like, man, I had a terrible sleep. But then if you like stay awake for 3 more hours, and then let's say you're able to take a nap and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go lay down and take a nap, sometimes it just goes away and you're like, okay, I feel like better now, or something like that.
Yeah, the naps could be powerful sometimes.
Naps are great. Like, and sometimes you need a nap.
I have this whole thing. It's like, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it a personal belief, but I personally believe this. That, quantum mechanics, simple quantum mechanics.
Simple.
But okay. So to just give the briefest, shortest little thing, quantum mechanics is that small things work weird. But like on a small scale, like what they're finding out is like basically these little particles or atoms or whatever, everything in existence is really like in superposition. It means that it has the potential to be anything, but it isn't any of those things.
Okay.
But the second that you look at it or capture it somehow or record it or whatever, like it's nothing until you record it or grab it, snatch. The second you snatch it, it becomes one of those things, and it's locked into whatever that is. And basically, it's like my personal belief is that you're gonna be locked into a situation. Say it's just this conversation, and it was like, you know what? I don't like what you're saying. This is, not going whatever. Or even if I do like what you're saying, but I'm just like, I just, things are just not right, whatever it is. It's like some people will stay locked into whatever they're in and just commit to it and like try to keep going against it. And they're like drowning, trying to make it how it's supposed to be. But really the truth is sometimes you just need to like let go so that you can go back into that superposition so that it could be anything now so that you can grab it again. And so that could be in everyday, just change. Like say we're in this room right now. If I get up and leave and go somewhere else, now I've created this as my reality. I'm over here, whatever. I've changed my environment, whatever it is. It could be taking a nap. It could be all these different things, but like you need to do something. Maybe you're like stuck on something. Oh, take a 30-minute break. Go do that. That's the same thing. But like on a bigger scale, like the things that you're doing, like you feel like you're stuck in this thing. Do something else.
Yeah.
Come back to it. Like,
and that's why people, I mean, nowadays in education, they're trying to have kids do that because that's what like burnout is. That essentially is like your brain is like overly processing this one thing, and it's super healthy to be like studying. Like if you're studying this thing and your brain's frying, stop doing it, because your brain is going to go from learning to like do anything to but pay attention to this, because like you're
Right.
oversaturating yourself. So it's like at that point where the cup is going to start overflowing, right before that, you leave it, you go do something else, and you clear your head of that like space, and then it has a set chance to like reset, and then you like come back. So people are doing this now in like some schools, or some educational tips is like almost like with video games, that kids could like study something for 30 minutes, go play on their phone for 5 minutes, and then come back and study. And apparently it's shown like huge growth and like retention and learning and stuff. But
I bet.
kind of in your sense, you're talking about like, yeah, like if you're dealing with something, like people say like leave it at the door. So it's like if you're dealing with something in life that was 16 hours of your day, but you get home, leave it at your door, go to sleep, go do something else, and then you'll pick back up tomorrow with how to do that.
Well, like maybe it's because like, okay, if you know your work sucks, you're working 16-hour shifts or whatever, you wouldn't want to just come home. You try to leave it at the door, but when you go to sleep, it's there.
Yeah.
So you need to go do something else. Like, and how important that is. Like people go, I don't have the energy to. If you did something else, you would get some energy back. You'd get your sleep. You'd get recharged. And yeah, I think it's on a big scale of like dealing with something that's maybe hard to deal with. People feel like they have to fight it, and like they're nothing. Like if they don't stay here and fight, they're a loser. And it's whatever. It's like a lot of things aren't really even fighting back. They're just in your way. Go another way. Like I think people they're stubborn. I'm stubborn. We all can be, but like even if you're so committed to one thing or dedicated and like you feel like you have to go that way, doing something else might give you the tools to do it too. And this is now more or less about like the scientific superposition of changing something and being a life hack, which is sort of how I look at it, because it really is a life hack. But like sometimes like on the bigger scale, like changing your trajectory could lead you to the trajectory that you were trying to get to.
Yeah. And that's also why it's important for like, especially kids growing up, that they do a bunch of different things, because they're always changing their trajectory and they're always like learning and stuff. But if you have a kid doing the same thing all the time, what happens when you get a freak athlete and you have that helicopter parent that's saying all you're going to do is wrestle 24 hours a day, and they start at age 8, by the time they're 14, they're like, I'm done with that. And then now they resent that, and then they attach that to their parent and all this stuff. But it's like if you have a kid that does 14 different activities a day, it like once they stop that activity and they go to the next activity, it's like a reset, because they're fluid. They're able to like reset. So it's almost like how like people that are older need to learn how to do that. And we do have those ways. People use TV or video games or conversations with friends or family or board games, whatever. People use those. But it's like some people, like you said, get stuck in like, I don't know how to get out of that, like, and how to change direction and stuff. So I think,
and it could be tough because some people feel like, oh, I've been trying to do this thing. Now this thing's stopping me.
yeah,
I don't know anything else to do. And so if they stop, they're just doing nothing.
yeah,
But yeah, starting to do something else is tough. But when you start to do that one thing can help you start doing other things. And it's like, if you just start doing a lot of things, it's easy to start doing things.
yeah.
And it's easier to finish things, and you just become more productive.
And I think something else on that point is like not even just doing things, like not like, oh, I'm going to go microwave mac and cheese, and then after I'm done, I'm going to go and take a bath. It's like not that type of change of environment. It's like if you do something that's challenging and then stop that thing and then go do something else totally different, but that's also challenging, it like, and you keep doing things that are challenging, not like lifting 500 pounds, but like, I'm going to go play chess, and then I'm going to go read a book, and then I'm going to go listen to an interview.
But maybe you don't play chess all the time, and you don't read books all the time. So there's little challenges in there, but you're proud of yourself, and it was a little bit of entertainment.
Yeah, so you're trying to focus on something that's strategy, and then you're trying to read something and focus on intellectualism, and then you're trying to listen to a podcast or something. Shout out the original copy. You're trying to listen to a podcast, and you're trying to learn how to retain information and have inner thought debate with the people talking across, like someone who's talking on the other side of your headphones. you're then, trying to think about how would I answer that in this conversation. Like if you keep going back to those things, we have different things in your life.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Like you're able to strengthen getting, it's like, that's how people can get out of their like that trap. Like, I don't know how to get out of it or leave this at the door.
I think it could be tough though, because I've sometimes you just get in a funk or you're just like feeling a certain way or something's eating at you. Maybe you don't know what it is. It's usually like ambition or something, and you don't have a way to like
get it out.
Yeah. Sometimes I've watched a podcast because I'm like, I like to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll watch a podcast, and I don't want to name what podcast I was watching that comes to mind, but it's like you just watch and you're like, I don't like what they're saying, how they're interacting. It rubs you the wrong way. And you're just like, this is not it. And so when you're looking for things to be your like out to re-energize and get back, it can be difficult, and you could burn yourself out looking for those things, or it really can be tough. But like I don't know. I would say something like that's a good one if you're in the mood for it, you find the right podcast, things like that. But things that are just you, like if you were trying to play a video game, don't play a competitive online video game. That's not going to be the
Farm simulator.
Right. Like play something that's all you.
It has to be an opposite thing. Like it has to be. So like, for instance, what I do, like to process stuff like that, like those conversations, very similar things. I'll hear someone on a podcast and I'm like, I just can't, right?
Yeah.
What I do, which is the complete opposite, is I talk to myself and like verbally have a discussion out loud and just try to process that information out. Because the issue is people get that and they're not processing it out, and they're just sitting on it, and then it affects everything. So it's like if somebody cut you off at a red light and you're furious, and then you just sit on that all day and you don't get it out. That could be talking to somebody about it. That could be playing a heavy metal song or something. If you need to like have a way to release that. People call it a release. And if you don't release that, then it can affect all these other things. So it's like people need to find those, like the release of like, okay, I'm struggling with this homework right now or this studying and it's driving me crazy. How do I release this feeling of it's driving me crazy? And then it's like finding those things. Well,
like it could be like, you were saying you just vocalize it out loud and have a conversation with yourself. You could write it down.
Yeah.
But if you're doing, no, I'm not saying you. Well, oh yeah.
Just gonna write it down.
Oh man. That's a good one. The writing it down could go both ways. Because if somebody cut you off in traffic and you're like, hey, screw that guy on a piece of paper, they're not doing anything. Yeah. You just left it at that. You still feel that way.
Yeah. You gotta go shoot that.
You
piece
just
of paper.
reconfirmed it.
Yeah.
But no, what you need to do is like write a story, and it's like this fictitious story or whatever, and it's like it starts about this idiot, and it's about that dude. But then it's like your story has to go somewhere. So then like while you continue, it's like okay, but then the next thing happens. Eventually, you get so focused on these other things that like. You forgot that guy was the idiot and the bad character, and he's the hero in the end of the story. Yeah. You just keep writing.
And you processed it out.
Whatever it is, yeah.
And that's why it's also very interesting with video games, right? Because the whole idea is it's desensitizing you. Because if you get a video game about guns, right, and then you have somebody who's like, oh, they get really mad with like guns. Well, I'm just going to go like, guns is like, not in the sense of it's violent, but it's like explosive, it's dynamic, it's loud, it's every emotion at one time. Then it's like people have to top that emotion and they try to process that differently. And then people do freaking crazy things. You see people in freaking like you see people, and it's also weird because you see crazy people in airports who like got mad because they missed their flight, and then you see them end up naked running around the airport. And it's like, people process information in crazy ways. And like how does someone's mind get to that? Like, cause me and you, like the way we process, everyone processes things differently, but some people just go from like 0 to like 120. Like I'm going to ruin someone's life. Like people go from like, I was late for work, or somebody spilled their coffee or my coffee. And then some people just go, okay, the only way, because they're so desensitized to like a high level of adrenaline, it's like smoking 90 milligrams of like nicotine. And it's like the only way for me to get off this is to do something equivalent, but in the opposite direction. So it's like, I'm going to go crash my car type thing. It's like, that'd be the only way. So it's almost like a counteracting thing.
Yeah.
So it's like some people in their mind, they're like, oh, well, this hurts so much that I'm just going to, like people that rebel against their parents, right?
Mhm.
It's like similar stories. It's like they would live away this way and then they like turn around and go do the complete opposite to counteract that like thing. So I think it's all about processing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that some people just take stuff to extremes, and like even in like, I mean, I don't even know if I would call that processing. That's just like inability to process
Yeah.
and then taking action on inability. It's like what they need is to process.
They
need all these
they
other things.
think, well, technically it is their body processing, but it's that had to have stemmed from a wrong way of how to handle processing information.
Mhm.
So it's like they've always been bad at processing, or they were never taught how to do it. Like, you know, we were saying, write it down, write a story, but maybe their parent grew up beating them, right? So their parents had a bad day at work. How did they process that? They came back and beat up their kid.
Mhm.
And so then that kid learns, oh, processing is violence, right?
Yeah, but I mean, man, it sucks. That's all sad.
Yeah,
And
no, it is. But like, that's how people, because at the end of the day, you were saying, how can people process information so badly? You're taught how to process information. Like, if somebody is in an argument and they see their dad hit their mom, or they see their parents yelling at each other, they associate, oh, that's how you process information. It's like your mind is very simple. It's not, your mind isn't at a young age isn't seeing this is good or bad. Obviously, heightened tensions can make you feel a certain way, like fight or flight, like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable because it's a loud noise or something like that. So people learn to associate processing information from their parents. And it's like, if you see your parent process, like if they got cut off, flipped off in their car, and you see your parent just be like, it's okay, it's whatever. Then the kid says, okay, that's how you process that type of information.
Yeah.
But if you see the person like, I'm going to go and mow that guy down and go try to T-bone him, and then the kid's like, oh, that's how I process that. And then it's that cycle.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's weird. Like, it started talking about the dreams. Like, this is all like your body's like,
well, it's all subconscious at a certain point. And
yeah, but like your body processing stuff at all, it's like, it's actually pretty impressive if you think about it.
It is.
Your body able to process and handle things based off past experiences, and it's like a giant computer that's like
is a computer.
super efficient. Like, it's crazy to think about.
But what's crazy is it's like it's all simulation. It's just running simulation. And that simulation a lot of time can be based off of like the real stuff, you know.
Yeah.
History, past, whatever. But you can also process things that like you haven't experienced or that you yearn for, or things, and like how that could integrate with the things that you do know and have experience with.
What do you think the ultimate or the bare bones response is to processing information you've never seen before? So like something happens and you've never seen it before. Like a sinkhole opens up in front of you.
Fear. It's just fear.
Fear.
Yeah. I was thinking, that was in my immediate response.
Isn't
I was
that
thinking
crazy
to see if it was something else.
That fear is a motivator?
However, how do you process fear?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because fear,
I know where it comes from.
you know, fear can make people angry and, you know, just instantly violent and just, you know, anti whatever it is. But fear could also make you slow and observant. And I think that's the better approach, because one, then when you do take action, you'll be more calculated. But also, just because it's unknown doesn't mean it's dangerous. So you're also like, I don't know, you have better odds of experiencing more better outcomes if you don't have this knee-jerk reaction every time you get scared.
Yeah, because you go to an area of town you've never been to before. Whether it's good or bad, your body's never been there before. So your mind is either, I'm always afraid, or I'm hyper observant.
Right.
So it's
and
like,
a lot of people would conflate the two and say, you know, oh, you're paranoid if you're just being observant.
but it's like either that or I'm going to be afraid. So I think where we learn the fear is from a very young age with your mother, right? So imagine something happens so traumatizing when you're like 2, and it's like, what do people do? Like, what do you hear soldiers crying out for whenever they're dying?
Their mom?
For their mom.
Yeah.
right? So it's like I think it has to stem from separation anxiety when you're a child, and that's what your body associates. The very first part of being afraid is being without your mom. And it's like people subconsciously have that in their body. So that way, whenever they have something that's overwhelmingly stimulating that they don't know how to handle, it could be death, it could be watching somebody else die, whatever, the immediate thought goes to their mom. And it's like crazy to think about that. Like people, I mean, you can hear stories, people that are dying, calling out for the mom because they're at such a level of fear and anxiety. And they're not like we said, if you're super analyzing and your arm's blown off, you might be like, okay, I know how to fix this. I'm going to do this. But if someone's always been afraid their whole life and something traumatic like that happens, they just call out to their mom. And I could imagine it, because imagine you take a 19-year-old boy who gets shipped off to the army. Let's say it's the Russian-Ukraine war, and they have to go kill a bunch of people, and then they just got they're dying on the ground. Like, they have no other option but to call for their mom as they're dying. And it's crazy to think about.
It is crazy. It's also crazy that, like, we'll take these inexperienced young men and, like, prop them up to be these, big heroes, to send them out there, all for them to just the whole time not really be what, they're being told they are. And it's like, it's kind of this crazy gaslighting that's going on, and
it's also
just acceptable.
Yeah.
And it's like, we all know people that have been in the service, and it's like, people go and you're like, okay, that's their choice. But like, you wouldn't say anything, but
yeah, it's
you sort of know that they're a little bit naive going into it, and they almost know that, and they're like, oh, well, I'm just gonna learn a lot, and they're gonna teach me how to be a man or whatever it is. And I don't know, it's sad to see that. Like, I've always thought that my whole life. Like, I mean, of course, like, respect for the people that go, kick some ass. Like, that's great. People do need to do that. But like, I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the guys that didn't make it to those positions.
Yeah.
That had dreams of doing that, but we're never going to be that person. Like, I think we were talking earlier about like the school system of like, if people would just tell them, or give them, I don't know, any sort of real information. It's like, there's this one big narrative. That's what it is. You can believe in it or not. But you don't go against the narrative. It is what it is.
I think a big part too, just regarding the sending people to war, it used to be we can just have more kids, and it's like the men who survived from those wars then have the right to go and mate with the women and create those children. It's almost like the natural reward that comes from war, and it's like those kids have the opportunity to be the men and not have to go to war because they're like too old or whatever. It's like, you're not going to go to war if you're 50 in a society like today. Like old times, because there was like the whole honor and stuff, like fighting for honor. But it turns into you have to prove yourself as a man, and then you've achieved level of man after you've succeeded. But it's easier to send the unintelligent, the young, to go die because you don't want to risk the old and the wise at the expense of your country. Because it's like, if you get rid of all the old people, but you only have new people, then you don't have experienced people in your society.
My problem is not, like, my issue is not with the military. It's with the systems that they sort of leech off of or extend. I don't want to say leech, but like, like the school system being that Rockefeller formation where it's like, it's all indoctrination. It's all like, just like conformity and reducing things to a simple digestible truth that everybody knows, you don't question. It's like, and then the routine of things and how it prepares you to basically be a factory worker, and then the factories and all these other things. It's like those systems are set up to pump people, out basically. And it's like, okay, we're going to teach you this thing. And then it's like you were in school, then you worked in the factory, now you're in the military, and it's like one clear escalation of the other. And I mean, it's bad enough that they do it in the school, and then it's bad enough that the factories take these school prepped people and utilize that. But then it's worse when, like, those same people get utilized for war, and they're already accustomed to the way that that's going to be in the programming, and like they feel like they're ready for it because they're used to it. But all of that is structured. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess a lot of those people probably live in their bubble too, and then it gets popped on the battlefield.
Yeah, they have a "What am I doing here?" moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's a huge thing.
but I think it's also like the popping the bubble, getting to rock bottom. Same thing with people that are at parties and they've partied their whole life and they've been doing drugs and they're trying to fit in because of peer pressure, and then they wake up on the side of the road and they're like, "What am I doing?" And it's like that moment. Everyone has that moment of like you reset your mind, like resets in real time, and you start questioning
Mm-hmm.
everything that you have been doing. And then some people say, whatever, and then just keep doing it. Or, but see, it's like they have the option, like the
Mm-hmm.
fork in the road appears before them, and they can continue what they were doing, or they can say, you know what, I'm going to stop, I'm going to change, or I'm going to do something else.
It's just like some people, yeah, you get that fork in the road. Some people go left their entire life. Every single fork. It's always going to lead to another fork. They just keep going left every single, and it's like
They go further and
eventually you're
further.
further and further down,
Yeah.
right? And so the person that goes left and goes right, and it's like they're trying to go right all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good direction to go. But sometimes they go left,
Mm-hmm.
but then they go, "Oh, I went left. I need to go right." It's like that person, they're going to go straight to where they need to go, you know? And yeah, the other people, it's just like I have a lot more respect for somebody that like you could do wrong. I'm not going to hold it against you, but don't just keep doing wrong. Like now I'm going to hold it against you. Like,
I think all this breeds regret,
yeah,
which brings an interesting
sure.
question. Like, what do you think? So I have what I think is the definition of regret, but where do you think regret comes from? Because I think that regret comes from you making a gamble on yourself that you weren't sure if it was going to work or not, and it doesn't work out, and it leads to regret.
I think regret comes from not doing something that you knew you should have and were fully capable of doing and had the opportunity to do for whatever reason you didn't.
Because I was thinking about it with like the military thing. Like imagine you like join the military, and in your head you convince yourself that you were invincible, and then you find yourself pinned down on a battlefield, everyone's shooting at you, and you have this moment of regret where it was like there was that chance that I had thought about, and it's like your brain reminding you of that conversation you had of like, I knew I always had a 10% chance of me dying doing this, and then it was like the regret of not taking like the.
If you were the type of person that thought that you could be the hero and went in there and really tried to do everything, I don't think you would have regret when you're dying. I think you would have acceptance because you knew you were going to die when you went in.
Well, that's the thing. So you were 100%.
But then, it's the guy that thinks he can squeak by that's going to regret it.
Yeah. And the person that's like, I have a 60-40 chance, but my ego's big, so I think it's going to work out. And then it doesn't. And then it's the regret. And it's almost like going into debt. Like for me, I went to college and I remember I had the same conversation in my head. This could work, but I also am going to be in debt. But screw it. Let's do it. And then after realizing the amount of debt that I was in and realizing that I didn't even get a chance to like do what college promised or whatever. And it's like, there's regret there of like, man, I wouldn't be in this crappy situation. And that's just a small situation. Like there's way bigger like things of like, you can regret eating this food because you had food poisoning, right? But it's like, there's so many different levels of like regret and like.
I don't know if that's necessarily like, oh, I regret I didn't do, or I regret I did this. I think it's more so like, I regret I didn't do that other thing instead of doing this. And like, yeah, the debt or whatever is like, that's the punishment for this.
Yeah.
But it's like, the regret really comes from somewhere else and something you didn't do. And it's like, I don't think it's about like doing something you shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it does work that way.
Because it could be so many things, right? Because it's like, okay, I went like using college as an example. You go to college, you had to make that decision. But then you also had to make the decision to study or not. And then you had to make the decision to study good or study bad. And then you had to make the decision to go to sleep at night so that you were able to retain your information. So it's like all these things that you can just go back to that one before it and be like, man, I regret that I didn't do this because this could have made me great. Or it was like, I regret not going to sleep because if I did, maybe I would have been stronger. Like, it's like your body goes and regrets like goes to regret a certain level of a stage, because you don't regret your whole life. People don't, I regret being born. It's like, that doesn't even make sense. But you regret some stage of life that happened, and everything before that you're okay with. And you're, in hindsight, you're like, I'm fine. That was perfect. But then you go to this one thing and you're like, man, if I just did that one thing different, I wonder how it would have played out.
So is it like being unprepared for something? Like,
Yeah. You were
uh,
prepared in something else and you chose to do something you weren't prepared
your
in.
body was like ready for this opportunity.
Yeah.
And because you didn't deliver that opportunity to yourself, like your body feels that regret.
Your body's like, I knew, like, basically, okay, let's say this, lifting weights, super easy example. You've been training to do 315-pound bench press, right? And you've done so well, and then you did 275 one day, and you're like, man, I did it. And the next time you go in, you know you're supposed to do 290, but you're like, you know what? I could try to do 300 or 315, and you try to do 315, and then you get hurt doing it, and you like the bar collapses on you, and you're pinned down. And then after you realize you can't use your shoulder ever again, you have to have surgery, your body goes to that 270 and is like, why didn't I just do that? Like, why didn't, and it's like, that's the regret of like, you realize your ego in an instant, you realize I was an idiot. And then you're like, I regret not doing that. But now you have to live with the consequence of your action. So it's almost like your body told you you were prepared for this one thing, but your mind overlooked your body and said,
right.
I'm better than that, or I can do that. And then you do something, but some people succeed, and that's why it's a gamble, right? So sometimes you can gamble and you're like, oh, wow, I could do that. And then you realize potential, or you fail and you realize your potential was way back here and you overshot it.
You heard that thing about like the fleas with in the jar?
No.
So fleas jump, right?
Oh, okay.
So they hop really, but it's like they can hop extremely high for their size. You know, I don't know. Let's say they can hop like 2 feet or something. It might be an exaggeration, but you take them and you put them in this jar. You put a lid on it and you poke some holes in there so they can breathe. But at first they're jumping to the top of the thing, trying to get out, blah, 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 blah. Over time, they die, but they've had children, right? So like these generations of them, eventually they stop jumping completely, but they're hitting the top of the lid, then they're jumping lower and lower and lower until they just don't jump anymore because they've been contained into what they thought was possible. Like, you know,
that's interesting.
It is interesting, but I feel like your body sort of like, you know how you have that gut feeling? It's like, that's the same thing I think the regret feeling comes from. It's like that gut, just like,
don't do it because it's going to lead to regret type thing.
Sort of. I mean, but that gut feeling can also be like danger or like a lot of different things, you know, like.
But like danger could be associated with a regret. Like if you touch this hot iron,
well, yeah,
it's good.
You will regret it.
Yeah, yeah, like
for sure.
But where does that come from? Like it's such a weird, because then it's associated with fear. Because then regret is associated with fear, but like fear of letting yourself down.
So is regurgitated? Is fear just a, or not fear? Or
regret?
Yeah. Is regret just another form of fear in a way? Like, regret is like fear. Okay, so if you get scared and you just knee-jerk reaction with that fear, you're just going to lash out and do whatever. But if you're calm and you preserve these things, you can make the better decision, move through these things. If regret hits you, how do you react to regret? Right? So some people, they let it fester and they focus on it and it's this regret, it's this thing. Other people go, I really regret that. I need to blah, 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 to do these things to like resolve their regret internally. Yeah, but like some people just, I don't know, they'll look at it different or respond different to the regret.
But so this is the thing too. Regret can also be viewed as hitting rock bottom. So you hit the point of regret and you realize I'm at the bottom. You know, I had this mission and then it stopped and I'm at the beginning. So I got to start over or something. Or so now you can continue, but you remember how to work hard. You remember how to get back to that point to change It's like the Marvel universe where there's a bunch of different worlds. It's like you found a way to get back to that world to where then you can continue your journey.
That's how I feel like my whole life is.
Yeah. Or you have you can either work out of your regret or you can work into your regret and then become super complacent and super like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just, oh crap. Well, that
Well,
sucks.
because you regret things
You
and
spiral.
and then you resent everything else.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you spiral and you just turn it all outward. And like those are the people that are the most stubborn, the most like unmovable, the biggest assholes.
Yeah.
And they can't see it because they've blinded themselves from it. You know, they don't even want to look at themselves anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and so, yeah, they just scream and yell at everybody else. It's everybody else's fault. And they're going to die with all that regret.
And that's why the good old adage, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
It's like somebody who was hurt or hurt themselves is going to take it out on somebody else because they didn't know how to deal with that regret. And they bottled it up and said, you know what? I feel like this. Somebody else needs to feel my pain.
All right. Vice versa. Hurt people, but can healed people heal people?
I think it's almost like the popping the bubble thing is like healed people need to healed people need to let healed people heal them. So it's like if two people struggle with drug addiction and one person got out, somebody can show them the way to get out, but only they can get out, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's weird because hurt people is somebody's making a decision to put something on somebody else. But healing somebody in our life as a human to human, it's like you don't have the capability of changing someone's heart, but you can present them with medicine to say, if you take this, you can be healed, but then that person has to take that. So it's weird. It's like, just as a hurt people thing, it's a forceful giving, and then heal people is a willing giving.
All right,
or willing offering.
But they're not going to work the same way because hurting and healing are two different processes. I could stab you. It wouldn't take very long.
Yeah.
But to get sewn up and stitched up and your body to recover is going to be a very long process. It's going to take a lot of care and a lot of time. You're going to need somebody dedicated, right? So
I think, okay. So
what if you can heal them? Because what if that medicine that they really need is emotional? What if it's something, and oftentimes it is, right? Yeah. So at first you might get rejected and torn down and whatever, and they don't want your help or any of this healing. But it's like, dude, you spend like 2 solid years of just being nice and like kind and really, reciprocating what they need, like I think you can kind of heal people externally a little bit. It's like, because they have to make that decision, but what if you can soothe everything to a point where making that decision is easier and clearer for them? Like, you know what I mean? That's as close as you could get.
The environment has to determine your level of willingness to accept healing. For instance, if somebody pushes, so hurt people, right? Somebody pushes somebody off the boat into the sea. So that person's, in this analogy, is hurting that person. That person who's now in the sea has to call out for help or call out for healing for that person to come. So it's like, if they know that somebody has the life inner tube thing to throw at them, they have to be the one to say, help me, and then somebody can come and help heal them. But if somebody's standing there ready to throw, but you don't say you need help, maybe that person throws it anyway, or maybe they don't. So it's like the person who throws it, maybe they get rejected, but then the person who doesn't throw it, they were still there willing to throw it, but you didn't ask for help. So it's like the healing one is so complicated because
you could throw them a rope, but they're going to have to climb themselves.
They're the one who has to grab it and take hold. But that's the thing we were talking about, is like the willingness of a friend to stay there with the buoy and saying, I'm ready to throw this whenever you need help. But it's that person who has to make the decision to ask for help, or the willingness of the friend to toss it out to them, knowing that they could be rejected. So it's like, yeah, it's crazy. Healing is such a weird, because it requires both parties, whereas the first one is a party lashing out at a different person. Like to hurt somebody takes one party. To help somebody off a ledge, like if someone's hanging and you're lifting them, it requires the person on the bottom to be still, or to be compliant with the person pulling them up. So it like takes two to heal and it takes one to hurt.
Yeah. And that's so crazy how easy it is to hurt too, and how long it takes to heal.
So like starting a war and ending a war, right? Starting a war takes one person to start the war, but ending the war takes one person winning and one person surrendering, right? Or complete annihilation technically. But it's like, in order to end an argument, right? A debate, right? If someone's going to win a debate, there has to be a loser to the debate. And technically, only way for someone to lose a debate or to actually be a full winner and a loser is to take someone to say, I lost. And then the person can then say, well, then I won. If someone said I lost, right? Let's hypothetically. But in the sense of like using the hurt person thing, somebody, I don't know. That was the whole point of the healing thing. It takes two, right? But it's like if somebody starts the debate, right? It's like that person's going on the offensive, but in order to end it, it takes both of them to end it. If that makes sense. That's what I'm trying to say.
Saying.
So it takes one person to start it and it takes two people to end it. But you hear that old adage, like, you started this and I'm going to finish it. It's like, but it's not finished because the other person didn't admit that it was finished.
Didn't concede defeat.
Defeat. So it's like, it only takes two to amend.
That's a really good point you bring up though, because I feel like a lot of people nowadays don't concede defeat anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's their victory. And they feel like they're not going to let you get any sort of win on them. And it's by them not participating. And the problem is that they're really losing everything though.
Yeah.
But they feel like they get their trophy every time. They've created their own participation award. And so it's like you can't serve a loss to somebody that's not willing to accept it. And if they're not willing to accept a loss, like you can't get any wins anywhere. Yeah. So now the people, all the winners, just because the other people don't want to participate, it's like, I don't know. It just messes up the entire ecosystem of people not wanting to participate in anything, and they think that makes them above the game. Yeah. But it doesn't. It ruins the game for everybody else, and you're not even a part of it, and you don't have a game to play. Yeah. So they make up shit. That's what I think.
It makes you start to wonder too, like, when does somebody stop trying to heal the other person? So it's like, if you're a friend with somebody and it's like I said, you're willing to cast that thing out every once in a while, at what point is it like you just let them drown? Like at what point? Because that's the hard part, right?
Case by case thing, I think.
Yeah, but it's like that's the hard part is like someone is lost in that aspect of their mind, and it's like if they're keep going, it's like at some point you have to, like, it's not that you have to let them go, but you have to sit there and watch them die. Yeah. So it's like, because you have nothing to do with it. Like you have no part because you can't get in their brain and change them. So it's not even like you have to let them go. It's like you just have to sit there and watch them die. Because there is no you have to let them, because you can't oppose your will on them in that situation, because clearly they don't want to change. So you're not letting them go. You're just watching them go.
I think it's the saddest thing, but I think you do just have to watch them go, like watch them die.
But then true love.
And destroy themselves or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. Because then you could start saying like, well, then the truest form of pure love is a constant going back for that person. So like, let's use this example. So you have like the dumbest animal ever is like a sheep, right? So you have a dumb, brain dead, like just have you seen that video of the sheep that like jumps in the crevice in the ground and
can't get out and then gets right back in?
The farmer like pulls it out and then it goes and jumps right back in. It's like you have the farmer who knows like he has to go back and pull that sheep right back out, even though the sheep's going to jump right back in. But if he cares about the sheep because it's his livestock and it's like he needs that sheep, not even that he needs that sheep, but it's like he a farmer.
Loves that sheep.
He loves it because it's his sheep, right? Yeah. It's like just like if it was his dog or a hamster. It's like he's going to go keep pulling it out, right? And it's like the ultimate form of love is like you're like as a parent and a kid, right? It's like if your kid falls down, your kid keeps falling down.
Yeah.
You love your kids. You're gonna go and keep pulling them back up. So it's almost like it's not that I'm saying you don't love the person if you let them die, but it's like the ultimate form of unconditional love is like, I'm still gonna try, even if you're so far gone.
Well, it's like, okay, so you gotta let that, like, if you love them enough, you'll let them die or destroy themselves or do whatever it is, because they're gonna do it anyway. Like, the only other option is to act like they don't exist, leave them, never see them again, and that's like a much shittier version. It's like, you don't have to act like you don't know them. You still know them. You still care about them. You still love, but you just accept that they're not going to do anything, and you just move on with the rest of your life. And yeah, it'll be a sad little thing, but it's like you almost like you still have love for them, but it's like if somebody, I don't know, like
it's almost like I don't need.
It's like when somebody gets dementia, and it's like they're not there anymore. You still love them, but they're not there. You just kind of have to internalize that to yourself, almost like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
There's so much there. That's another 2-hour conversation.
Yeah, it's a deep one.
Yeah, but you want to wrap it up there?
Yeah, I think we've been going almost like 3 hours or something.
Pretty close to it. That was good though. That started.
Yeah,
it's so cool just to see where that started. But if y'all liked the conversation, obviously make sure to go watch other previous episodes, or feel free to stick around for next week's episode. But yeah, we're trying to get to 100 subscribers, so if y'all can help us out, that'd be great. Just trying to grow this channel and just enjoy conversation.
Absolutely. Till next time.
See you, everybody.